awesome, man. Are you able to speak without me? Yes, yes, awesome. All right, I got it set up the Kino way.
Hold him.
Up. So I'm doing this thing called the Good Friday Black Fast, but I've been kind of cheating. I've been taking a little bit of milk here and there, but I made up for it by running.
Your mic is coming in a little bit echoey.
Echoey, huh? Echoey. Like when I speak, it echoes?
Not really like a echo. It's like a
Tinny?
It sounds like there's a tin can over your microphone, to put it that way.
I can't freaking stop. See, okay, so you might not be watching the video live streaming on YouTube, but I'm pointing right now to my old trusty handy dandy Blue Yeti microphone that didn't cost me a lot. It's a USB microphone, and this stupid thing that cost me like $400. I gotta do so. I gotta figure this out before I use it because it sounds like a tin can. I can't record audiobooks. I can't record streaming. It just sounds too bad. But thanks for coming in, man.
Like a Jim Medicare sounding microphone.
Yeah. It's sad, man. It's sad. I think Jim starts to lose it more and more, and I've noticed this for a long time. I just couldn't put words to it, and I also didn't want to step on people's toes because they were just. I let people enjoy things sometimes, you know. But like, it seems like Medicare's really lost his way. Like he's one of the symptoms of the sector, you know. Like Kiwi Farms itself is a symptom of the sector going way downhill. He's got pirated and turned into, you know, a mecca. This is always how infiltration happens and subversion from without happens. But the Kiwi Farms, just like the Vatican itself in the 60s, it got turned into, you know, a bad thing to be used by bad people against good people.
I think what you see about Jim is just kind of like, it's what happens when people have like a brush with death. Because what I see is he's being like overly optimistic. Like every single one of his streams recently, it's like he's taking like one like white pill out of a sea of black pills, and he's hyping it up to no end.
And that would mean something if it wasn't for the fact that everybody talking about black pillars is lying 95% of the time. That would mean something if it wasn't for that paradigm that we're going through right now.
So I don't know. I don't personally hold it against him being like the ultra white pillar, because I can kind of like, if you thought you were on your deathbed, you had some incurable disease.
Yeah.
For like a couple years.
Yeah.
So it kind of altered your way of thinking, and now like you have a second lease on life. Like you're going to be like optimistic because look, I made it.
I mean, I hope he's okay. No, I don't want to see anybody sick. Did you know, I've told you this before, but did you know my official job title on the Kiwi Farms, in the Kiwi Farms chat, was the nurse? Because I would always try to diagnose, people's problems and then give them advice, and a lot of people took my advice and they benefited from it. Sprinkles was the last person I gave advice to, and he said, my arthritis is killing me. I'm just like, have you tried intermittent fasting? And he's like, no, what's that? It's when you fast for like 12 hours every week, once or twice. And that allows your body to go through autophagy, where your body is breaking down its dead cells first. And that makes your entire system much, much healthier. It makes your system more programmed to know live cells and dead cells instead of just live cells. Everything's live. That's how you get really bad cancer rates. That's how you get like buildup of acid in joints and stuff like that. So fasting is really, really good. Speaking of which, I'm about 30 hours in, I think. And I feel great. I feel wonderful, but I'm kind of cheating with the coffee, so.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? How's your Holy Week been?
It's kind of up and down.
Yeah, given the war and shit.
Yeah.
It's not very holy time in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great time in the world. That's why I was telling somebody, I listen to like a lot of news and like other sources. I was telling somebody earlier, they were wondering like what's going to happen, like the diesel prices, and like you think it's going to recover soon. Like I don't think it is, because
You want to know something?
I was
You want to know
well, I
something
was
screwed
hearing
up?
about that if the supply chain breaks down, like I think it was Sam Cogliano who runs like the YouTube channel, like what's going on with shipping. He was explaining like if there's a 3-week delay in getting oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, you can expect 30 weeks of recovery time.
Yep. And every time they shut down one of those LNG plants on the Persian Gulf, it takes like 2 years for it to start back up. It is such an involved process.
So we're not going to see the end of it if like magically Trump just, I'm done. He literally like all aircraft carriers turn around. Iran just they come out of their caves. Everything is great.
But
You're
doesn't that,
still like basically 2028 until things recover truly.
doesn't that actually align perfectly with his drill baby drill philosophy, where America is to become like a global exporter, of maximizing our mercantilism by like minimizing imports and maximizing exports?
Yeah, but the only problem with that is we still have the petrodollar system, not quite intact, but it still is the basis for our currency. So the global currency rates dictates how much our dollar buys. So this was a really ill thought out plan. Like if you wanted to become the national or like world exporter of oil, why didn't you unshackle us from the petrodollar first?
Oh, you want to know something screwed up? I was going to butt in, but I held my tongue because I need to get better at conversational skills if I want to do anything with my voice, involving other people. But Venezuela actually shipped over a shit ton of their, maybe I shouldn't curse on stream, but I don't know. Well, we're probably going to get cursing on the stream later on anyways, but let me just get to the point. That Venezuela, after we took them over, shipped over a shit ton of diesel to Israel. Israel, the greatest country in the world. Happy Passover.
Iran.
Still haven't heard of it.
Then Iran like bombed their like refinery or something.
Yeah. I mean, the steel processing factory in UAE got decimated. The Pars North Dome gas field is basically out of commission right now. In the first 12 hours, they legitimately vaporized almost all of our bases. I don't know why people were like, no, it's not happening, Like, no, we had detailed reports about how people were like fleeing for their lives out of our military bases all around Iran once the war initiated. And in fact, people were evacuated en masse before because they knew that was going to happen. In fact, all of this has been basically within the parameters of what people like Hegseth want. Actually, what they want, what these Freemasonic freaks actually want, is to do Soviet-style Zerg rush tactics. That's what they want. And here's an old joke, and I probably said this before to you and on stream very recently, but this is an old joke from, I think, either the Soviet Union, Poland, or Finland, which is to say that, what do you call a Red Army? What do you call 99 Russians and 1 Jew? You call it a Red Army. What do you call 99 Jews and 1 Russian? You call it the Soviet. So that split was to delineate the fact that it's even written in Mein Kampf, all the Jewish people sent other races off to die during the era of nationalism, and they stayed at home, riding the soldiers, taking it for granted, and stealing all the women and pimping them out, and then profiteering off of the suffering by selling weapons, by being doctors, and being bad doctors at that. And that's legitimately what we're seeing right now here in America.
Yeah.
That's what they want. It's all within parameters. They actually really, really want this. They want a complete and utter destruction of the American military because we are very, very powerful. And if our American military is destroyed, then Israel doesn't have as much to worry about. Oh, hey, Forsaken. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
What up, dude?
Hey, Cook.
So
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're good, man. You're right on time. You want to say anything about Israel? I'm streaming on YouTube, so don't make it too...
on the X.
Make it too crazy. I'm on YouTube.
I mean, when they say X, it's okay to say whatever you like, but it's got to be worse than YouTube at this point. I've spent the last month and a half banned for for having a swastika as my profile picture.
Oh goodness. Well, now you got your own Forsaken Wanderer back, so I like that better, anyways.
Yeah,
You just got
it's a
to
classic.
sing the Neil Mohan song that dude put out. That way you get the YouTube gods to bless your stream.
You gotta bow before the YouTube Diwali and pledge allegiance.
What do you do for Elon though? You gotta do some sort of South African dance, I guess.
I saw the rocket go up recently. I think that was NASA though, but like that was a big gout of fire up in the air. That was real cool. I'm like 7 miles away from the space station.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was NASA, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's always...
I'm curious.
Sorry.
What is y'all's opinion of the space launch?
It's silly.
I don't think it was real.
I think it is because I saw some real ass shit in the sky. I think it's just silliness.
It's all a rocket show, isn't it? They fire up a rocket and they fire it over the Bermuda Triangle, and then it crashes somewhere in the ocean there where no one goes. And
You know, it could legitimately be unoccupied for all we know.
You're out there when the
yeah, well, that's the thing. We wouldn't know. And then they just show you some set where the astronauts are sitting in their chairs, and they make up some fake drama that the toilet's not working and all this shit.
I mean, it's very easy to put it off on Boeing. The way that they've been.
I found myself very disappointed at how the White House official account handled the kind of announcement of it. The Zoomers who run the accounts spliced it with Mario Galaxy clips and it was just this is the one time I just wanted to have clips of John F. Kennedy, we go up at the moon because we do things that are hard, and then have a clip of the astronauts walking slowly to the shuttle with some kind of inspiring music. I just wanted something decent.
Nixon
And
on
we
the
get
phone talking to them on the moon.
Zoomer slop. Here's Mario. He's zipping around the planets, and I'm just like, why?
It's not the appropriate time now for the war because we're getting our asses so brutally kicked. A little bit of Wii Sports actually does help the propaganda network. It actually is boosting morale, but not this. Now you know what was cool that DC did? They projected on the Washington Monument the rocket going up, and for a moment I was just like, wait a minute, they were just projecting pure flames on the Washington Monument, which is an obelisk of war. So it was just like,
But it's 2029, it's all about nihilism and nothing serious anymore, and no one gives a shit about anything. So I guess it's fitting that all the White House ever does now is stupid video game memes and shit like that.
Speaks the hell out of what headset talk.
I don't know. I just, for a moment, I was just kind of hopeful. Maybe we could have a return to greatness or inspiring. Even for this minimal second, after 50 years we make a trip back to the moon, not to land on it, but just to see if we can do it. And just, can you inspire us again? Can you excite Americans to believe in something forward facing once more?
Asking too much.
Yeah, I would go into my previous theory about what I said about Hegseth, about how all of this is in parameters because as a Freemason, he is using, instead of on the left, on the right this time, instead of in Russia, in America this time, he's using Zerg tactics. Well, that's what he wants, and he's going to fire anybody that doesn't want that because he does want mass death, because he does want America to continue to be consecrated to a communist system. And in a communist system, beauty is illegal. Straight up illegal. That's why the brutalist architecture is so soul-crushing and awful. And they worship size as opposed to complexity or simplicity or uniqueness or beauty, because it's Marxism, which is the will to power, which is Schopenhauer, which unfortunately Hitler also read, and I feel like if Hitler never read Schopenhauer but instead got somebody else, some other theory of will, he would have been a lot better. Schopenhauer is a really evil person. You can tell, you can look at him and you can tell. Yes, he was harmed very, very severely by women and by other people that he trusted, but he really turned into a monster. He's a chaos agent. Have you ever done Warhammer 40k or anything like that, if you're looking into the lore of that, which is awesome. He is truly an apostle of chaos.
The 40k is awesome, but like the brutalist stuff is awful, but it's more the minimalism now that they love, isn't it? Just
Yeah, that's a
making everything
postmodernism.
Really, yeah, postmodernist shit.
Yep.
Everything has to be minimalist. There can't be any beautiful art anymore. It has to be the flat. What do they call it? The corporate flat art. And
Memphis.
Is it
Memphis?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Allegria.
Was it the Cali Art School stuff?
Yeah. That shit.
Anything they build has to be glass and metal and have all weird geometries to it.
Yeah, or like circles and
Looks like a giant
squares
dildo.
on top of each other. This is my new house. It's Dr. Seuss ass shit. But hey, Forsaken, can you tell me, man? I've been wanting to get you in here for a long time. Can you tell me, what was the deal? What's the deal with the Kiwi Farms?
What's the deal with the game? I haven't been following it lately the last couple of months this year. But it looks like it's mostly the same as it was 2025, where Josh is on a massive banning spree and getting rid of all the old school users. Sort of like Cheesy's gone, Toadie's gone, I think Call Me Cicada's gone as well.
Oh no. Dang it.
Has anyone left at this point? Probably.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing, I've actually noticed how this goes. He actually, like, there's chapters. It's like a corporate structure. He brings in new people, fires all the old people, brings in new people, starts a new chapter. And then when he's ready to do the new chapter, he fires all of those people. That's the thing that I've noticed. Doesn't matter how good you are or how much you help him, he just likes novelty and he likes to shuffle it up.
And lately he likes money more than ever, just so much greed. He's just like Darkside Phil now, where he's got the 600 member goal, and then it's the 700 member goal, then the 800, 900 probably in a week. It just doesn't stop. And before that, when he was getting ready to beg for the 600 members, he said he had something like 10k a month personal expenses. He never explained how. How do you have that much expenses? And he's living in a bedroom with a server rack, so he's clearly not in his own house, because you wouldn't put a server rack in your bedroom if you had your own house. You put it in the garage. So he must be with his parents, or he's flatting or something.
Maybe, actually, no, maybe that is his regular house. Maybe it is like a 2-bedroom house, and he does keep it right next to him so that he can see it, you know, and like if he gets a notification from one of his Praetorian Guard, he like wakes up and does stuff to it.
Post. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. Because I think Clyde liked it recently.
Yeah, Clyde. Forsaken Wanderer. Have you seen Clyde? Have you seen Within Kiwi Farms? Good stuff.
Yeah, he's always on a roll. He's always keeping up to speed on what's going on.
It's impressive.
With, both the farms and onion farms and everything going on.
I haven't figured out why he cares so much. I haven't figured it out.
I don't know. He must have been a Kiwi Farms member at some point.
Maybe.
He got shafted by Josh.
Clyde Cash. That is core sector lore. Like, unfortunately, a lot of the new people, and I don't mean to insult Ashton or anything like that, and a lot of the Kino Casino people, they're on such a weird periphery on the timeline that they don't even know a lot of the stuff that actually happened with Chris, what actually makes it funny. They looked at this diluted, nasty, destructive like state that Chris was in at the very end of his story after self-destructing so much, and then people, honestly, one of the best things Josh ever did was getting the Kiwi Farms together to fund a care package for him after his house burned down because he's stupid and he played the Keurig in the bathroom and it caught on fire. You know? Oh man, it breaks my heart. It really does. But my heart's already been broken about that. I already cried my tears over that. I ain't feeling nothing right now about it. What was I talking about trying to post?
The what, sir?
I was wondering if Zyklon found his post.
Oh, no, I actually commented under your post for Forsaken Wanderer. Is February 20th, 2026, I wrote, his living habits in America are probably more costly than he wants to admit. Instead of renting a cheap house in a rural area, he's probably in some walkable distance townhouse near a city center. He's likely paying $2,000 or more in rent alone.
Oh yes, I did see that. Well, I was banned during that until like a couple of days ago, so I only saw it a couple of days ago. But yeah, it's got to be something like that, because how else do you have expenses that I think it was 10k a month? I could be wrong, but it was something ridiculous like that.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
I know that because personal experience. I had a friend who was living in Knoxville with her parents, and they were paying rent like that to have like some kind of like townhouse, like kind of like in downtown. Like you could literally like walk down the sidewalk and like walk on the main street. So,
and then I guess that's the only benefit to it. You're close to all the shops and the malls and the Disney
pretty
parks. And
much.
things like that.
Noel just strikes me as the type of person he's probably paying to live somewhere like that because he wants to be able to like Uber food to his house really easily or walk to places. He can sit at a local coffee shop instead of like making a cup of coffee in his own house. So
You know what downtown usually has? Downtown usually has like the city hall and stuff. And so like all the buildings around there are usually like secretive subsections of like Praetorian Guard for these mayors that come in out of nowhere and then they bring in. Yep, the name mayor is the Jewish name, the Ashkenazim name for master. Yes, it is literally the last 800 to 1,000 years. It's all been them, like all been them. And then that's after they gave up on the Gnosticism in the first couple of hundred years, and then they gave up. Then they got into the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar story gets so deep. And then I talked to some Catholics about that, and they're just like, what? I'm like, no. The Spanish orders were great. There are a lot of really, really good Spanish orders. Not the Knights Templar. Those were cultists, and that's where the Swiss bank comes from. You could take the Seal of Solomon from Ethiopia to London, and you could access their banking networks through the Knights Templar. And then eventually the French master, he got his feet melted until the bones slid out of his feet because the Vatican was just like, we're sick of your shit. And then they literally abandoned him to get tortured to death. Evil. Bad people.
Because they were worshipping like Lucifer, the light bringer, and all this shit.
I think it was Beelzebub that they said, but
worship was involved.
I think that was extracted under torture, so you can't really say what it is. What it actually was, I think he just gave up Beelzebub or Muhammad or something to make the pain stop. What it actually was there was a Swiss banking institution that we saw spiral. Once I think it was Pius V broke apart these Knights Templar. That's actually when the fetters of the Freemasons popped up.
And I saw a great video on the banking empire and the history of that.
One more thing. Where are you going to that? Because the Knights Templar were the Knights of the Temple of Solomon. That's what the Templar means. All right. Now you.
I was just going to say, I think it was Flight from Syracuse. It's got a really great 2-part series on the history of Jewish banking and things like that, and how they tried to take over England.
Is it the enslavement of the world? Is it the history of central banking?
Yeah.
It's like a documentary about it.
Also, why they hate Napoleon so much. Because
The
he was
Banque de
opposed to
France!
them installing a central bank in France.
Yes! They poisoned him with arsenic, which was a signature Rothschild thing that they did. I'm sorry, I'm getting too excited, man. I gotta calm down. I gotta have better conversational skills. My apologies.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, that's what was that called? What was the channel's name?
Flight from Syracuse.
Flight
If
from
you've seen any of his
Syracuse.
videos, you've probably seen the one that was titled "Why It's a Shame Both Sides Can't Lose." Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Quite frankly, though, I've been watching Palestine since 2014, and I don't see a lot of evil in them, man. Like, as opposed to ISIS, which is a tremendously evil thing that basically just resembles Zionism, but in Muslim form, which is more grody. Sometimes.
yeah, I think that phrase "it's a shame both sides can't lose" is actually originally like a Henry Kissinger
Nothing
quote.
left but all the time in the world.
Good old Henry Kissinger. Didn't he died recently? Didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah, I was so happy that day.
And you had that weird moment where you were talking to some German reporter and you're saying, "Oh, Germany's let in too many immigrants and they've got to reverse it before it's too late." And for a day, all the different politicians, even Green Party, were parroting the same shit. And then after that, it just went back to the normal. So I don't know if he went mental or something, or if he was worried he was going to go to hell. And
Yeah, he was really bad.
But
It was like deathbed confession shit. You know the guy who invented the term attention deficit? His name was Leo something or another. He, on his deathbed, said he made it all up. But then they created new terms called ADD and ADHD instead of AD because AD in 1986 was pinned to petroleum-based food dyes. So we already knew that. Thanks a lot, RFK, Rabbi Shmuley's bottom bitch, for not doing anything.
He has been pretty useless.
I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I was so excited. I was so excited about him and Tulsi. And, like, quite frankly, Tulsi is still, I feel like she's still trying to, like, pull some things together to make sure things just don't go completely off the rails. Anybody else in DNI would have probably, like, spied on everybody in the country and then sold their data or something. I'm glad she's there instead of somebody else. That's all I'm going to say about Tulsi.
I've completely given up with American politics and things like that, and nothing ever happens.
Well, what about Fishback? What about James Fishback? I think you'd love James Fishback. He's running for Florida governor.
Oh, really?
He's really
Is
fun.
He's a person running for Florida.
I just went on Hodge Twins just today.
But the last guy, I forgot his name. The or is he still the current Florida governor?
DeSantis, yeah, he's out from term
Yeah,
limits.
DeSantis.
Yeah.
Everyone was said he was based, but then he pushed in the anti-Semitism laws and things like that.
Yeah, nobody believed me for a little bit until things started to get really, really bad. I was just like, no, he's screwing things up, I promise you. My mom was just like, no, DeSantis was, because she was in the medical field and he actually did. And I will.
Great.
Yeah, no, I really, really defend him for, like, protecting a lot of our people during the COVID scam and preventing it from getting much, much worse than it could have been. We were one of the 14 best states in the country because he did that. But then he took that.
It's kind of like here in Virginia, like with Glenn Youngkin. I remember, like, after he got elected, I remember telling my dad, he's not going to do anything. He's like, oh, you're being hyperbolic. Come on now, like he's gonna get things done. And it's like, nope, he's not gonna do anything. He's tried to play it safe. He's a middle of the road Republican. He's not gonna rock the boat. He's gonna, like, do some tepid things, and he's gonna, like, leave in 4 years. And somebody worse will get elected. We'll end off worse, and that's exactly what happened.
Yep, and then that weird woman got elected. I think she has some freaky face. I think her nose is, like, ridiculous. Like, she has, like, a witch nose. But she, like, legalized child pornography. Like, she cut the punishments for child predators down, like, to the bare minimum. She, like, legalized murder. She, like, banned guns. And it's going to take about a year for those things to go into effect. But once they do, Virginia is going to be an absolute nightmare. It's going to be Tel Aviv, too.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
Miami's not looking great. Oh, my goodness. They're building bunkers down there. I can hear them transporting wealth on the railways all day, all night for the last, like, 4, 5, 6 years.
Like, it's just going to get to a point, like, people are going to have to start engaging in, like, vigilantism to, like, actually get justice again.
Well, I wouldn't say anything like that out loud, but I would 100% encourage people to learn, practice, familiarize themselves, and communicate with their neighbors, communicate with the local law enforcement with a grain of salt whenever they're wearing their badge and their uniform.
Look, everybody, you need to start a neighborhood watch, like my friend Nate Matthews here.
Y'all want to hear about my latest neighborhood watch thing? It happened just recently. Yeah. It was on Wednesday, and the last 3 days before that Wednesday, there were motorcyclists, like, using the neighborhood as game. And what I essentially had done is I had baited one of the motorcyclists into attacking me, and then I immediately went and I got a police officer and I told him what had happened. Now, that may sound like a snitch thing, but right now I don't have time to go out every single day and involve myself for multiple hours like I did with the previous case. So what it is their entire house is on notice. Now, in the future, what I will absolutely do is I will absolutely walk around the neighborhood with my camera, and if they want to attack me, that's perfectly fine. I'll see to it that gets streamed, and I'll see to it that Kino and content is made, as well as protection over the neighborhoods, and they've been behaving themselves for the most part recently. But it was a serious problem for 3 days, and you should have seen, I was so surprised how quickly I baited that guy into screwing up big time, and he did it in front of a bunch of kids and everything. It couldn't have been more perfect. When it came, I didn't even plan it out to be that perfect, but it couldn't have been more perfect. Nobody was hurt, and everything ended up being better afterwards. It was great. So, like, I really am in
How
a
did
good
you
watch.
bait it though?
I can't really actually go into the explicit details for a variety of reasons. You understand.
Fair enough.
Thank you. But speaking of bait, how do you think that we could potentially get Noel back on the straight and narrow? Like once his $7,000 check stops clearing, how do y'all think we could turn our boy back into a man?
Turn our boy back into a man?
I don't know. My brain was just spitting shit out. Any ideas? I'll take round table. Any ideas are welcome.
Well, I don't know. I think it's too late, isn't it? It's already over, or maybe it never began.
It's over, Eden. It's over.
It's so over. Millions must sleep.
Exactly. We were born in globo homo. We never got to see the true West. We never got to live in a world where we're in control of our own destiny or anything like that.
We could be like Bane. Formed by it, molded by it. Strong by it. It just depends. It's the choices.
Adopted the global homo. I was born in it. Molded by it.
Yeah, not in that way though, but yeah. I don't know. I think Judas would be able to advocate on our behalf and maybe like get people back in, and then we could like come in as a group and like prevent groups of people from screwing with us, mostly Jewish or homosexual. That I noticed actually, unironically, like groups of homosexuals and Jews like come together on Kiwi farms and attack people and destroy people that don't agree with everything that they have to say, and turning the website into a cesspool and a Hezbollah propaganda node. We could potentially get Judas to bring us back in as a group and like work on it together as a group project and try to make this website better.
That sounds like
what your plan though is you need to get Josh to unban us all.
Well, that's all dependent on what Judas can achieve, but I actually, and if Noel has a good memory and he's like just lying about how bad his memory is, he might remember how when he was taking my advice, we got up to like hundreds of thousands of people in the orbit. Not even hundreds of thousands, but like over 100,000, like 100 to 120,000 people in the orbit. And that basically has dropped out recently. There's the like 30 to 40,000 people that like look at stuff, but that's the max. We used to be way higher than that. We straight up used to be way higher than that. And it takes more intelligent people who actually have a bearing for the future instead of these like exposed nerves. These people that legitimately are just like eyes and ears and noses, and they have nothing else going on. They have no plans for the future. Like that's ruining the Kiwi farms and poisoning it. And Josh knows this. That's why he wants to exit scam, I think. But we can maybe make something work in the future.
But that's the thing, though. Is I think he knows that those people are more likely to be pay pigs and just give him money and be sycophants and be happy with anything that he does. And that seems to be all he cares about is the short-term income.
I mean, I tried to warn him that those people that he's catering to and he was banning specifically the kind of like girl talk, kind of like man hate thread people, they were never going to actually pay him. Like there were a bunch of like cheap tightwads that were never going to give him a cent, and he was going to burn his website down and piss off people like me that would actually give him money.
You know, I gave no money, and I don't regret it because it was a time when he was working hard and doing the right thing. But you know, things can change, and it is disappointing when you see your investment. I don't FOMO about it. I don't sunk cost fallacy about it, but it sucks to see your investment not spring good fruit.
But,
Well, I mean, it's
Sorry.
Go ahead.
After you.
You guys hit that point in the hallway where both of you are like going the same time, both back and forth at the same time.
What? I mean, especially after I posted the receipt of like my money order, like I submitted to like the Kiwi Farms legal funds, and I think is it that little gremlin that used to like hang around Little Drip so much?
Lurker?
Yeah.
What?
Maybe? I think so.
Aw, don't call
She
Cecilia
came in
Williams
that-
gremlins. That's me.
Luca is a
She's a
gremlin for
gremlin.
sure.
He came
That's
in
who
that
you're talking about.
thread to basically like, oh, that's nothing, $1,000 check, that's chump change. It's like, and she gets null, like, I don't even think he like actually had the context of what I was saying. Just like, if people won't support my website or they're trying to tell me what to do and ban people, it's like I never asked you to ban any of them. I asked you for the simple thing that you claim that you used to do on like 8chan. Put people in their containment thread and don't let them out. I'm fine with them sitting in the man-hate thread all day long. Don't let them shut up the rest of the site.
Yeah. I feel that because
That's all I ever asked.
I love you just about.
Never said ban them.
When you were following me around to various threads, of course I had to say something. It's disrupting, and what ends up happening is I get punished, just like the whole situation always happens.
I never knew who Little Drip was until one day randomly I'm reading the Ricada thread, and there's just one post from her out of the blue that Ricada's a moid, something about his dick and this and that. I'm just like, where is this coming from? Like, we're talking about like his case and does he have a chance, and just like out of the blue, like the entire conversation shifts because just random like off the wall derailing happens, and you report it, and I think I reported a few of her posts, and like Null literally like responded to my reports and said that you just need to get over it and just block her if you don't like her. It's like, well, it's kind of hard to block one person and then when the whole thread is getting derailed.
You should have said
The whole conversation is changing.
You're an admin.
So like, even if I block this one person, like everybody else is now talking about whether like Ricada's like some evil like woman abuser because the whole thread's derailed now. Like, it's not enough to block her, make her not post in the thread.
Well, I said something very mean to Ricada on his own personal page the other day, and he didn't even block me for it. So that means he has actually got a thicker spine than Null does. But I said that he legit, like, whether or not you were sharing your cocaine with your child, or she snuck into your stash and stole it from you, you're still insipid. Because he was attacking Ralph, and it's just like, bro, this is our Kino. Do not take away the content.
So I just think that at a certain point, like he's kind of like messed up his kind of like pay pigs or like the people who are willing to fund him. I don't know if he can get back to a point where he was at before. And it's kind of the same way Ralph did. Ralph, after he got banned off of YouTube and he was on like BeLive and then later like stream.me and then vid.me and all these like sites he kept hopping to, he got pissed off one day and started like doxing his own supporters for not donating enough or pissing him off.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all.
And his money started to dry up. And it's like, well, this is the same thing you've watched locals do. Your whole site is dedicated to documenting this. Why do you fall in the same trap they do?
I know.
And it just kind of goes back to that. It kind of goes back to that comment that's been made before, and I feel like I'm just rehashing it. But like, Null is a locale himself, and part of the whole point of like hosting the website dedicated to locales is kind of masking him being a locale, because he engages in some of the same behaviors they do. He's just more self-aware of it, so he tries to combat it the best he can. But he can't help himself but to like step on a rake every now and then.
Yep. And Dynastia, that guy, he made a very, very comprehensive thread on Null. And because Null is more afraid of making an enemy out of somebody like that, he kept him around, but he never moved that thread out of Prospering Grounds. It's got like 200,000 views for a Prospering Grounds thread. And it never got moved
It's
out
still there to this
Twitter.
day.
Yeah. I'm kind of shocked, but yeah. I mean, you can't get rid of it. It's archived.
But I think if it's in the Prospering Grounds, it doesn't show up in search results, right? Like if you
It doesn't show up to
I think so.
non-members. Non-members. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The problem with Josh is that he's so irrelevant, most people don't care about the things he does. And if a lot of things he does are, people only care if they're deeply into the farms. Like a lot of it's poor management of the farms that makes him an idiot and a lolcow. Someone outside of the farms doesn't care about that. It's boring to them. So someone like Turkey Tom will probably never make a video on Josh, other than maybe the Blockland stuff, because to his audience, they probably wouldn't be interested in anything that that they could dig up that he's done in the last couple of years. But I mean, he's certainly trying to make himself relevant by inserting himself into everything that happens.
My first inclination with the Turkey
Yeah.
Tom drama is that, like, legitimately, this was the instinct that popped into my mind. Turkey Tom has too big of a penis to make himself look petty in this particular situation. And I didn't actually say that. What instead I said is that, oh, please, Turkey Tom, sue no, it would be so funny. That wasn't actually what my instincts told me. My instincts told me Turkey Tom is not going to sue him. He's just going to let this go. What he ended up doing was giving him $5,000 for the legal fund. Now, that's a little fucked, but it's also, like, enormous penis. Because he knows it's a mathematical reality that through the Kiwi Farms' work, that Noel has worked very hard to keep on the internet, through the Kiwi Farms' work, he has made millions. Millions. And so, that's what makes Turkey Tom successful. That sort of attitude right there. That's why he's hanging out with Ben and Buckingham, and he trusts him, and they're growing something really, really big, and they're going to be, like, doing live stream doxing pedophiles and going and, like, killing pedophiles. Hopefully we get to see shooting pedophile streams in the future. That would be nice. I'd love to see
So,
that.
is Noel actually going to sue that blockheaded tranny? Because I'm blanking on the names because it's been so long since I've been involved in this sphere.
This one, Jones.
There you
Dong long gone.
go. Long, long gone.
Dong long gone.
Some people are saying it. The dong is no longer there.
It's not there.
Because I did see that post that somebody had made that, like, I don't care what you say, like, think about Noel, like, it's not cool that his website's basically been delisted or something, and I got the impression that Liz Fong Jones was involved, so I was curious, like, is Noel finally going to, like, actually use legal fund and finally sue anybody, or is he just going to keep...
What's the money for? I'm assuming the money is just for him. Like, if he gets personally sued and he's going to be liable for damages, he's going to use the money then.
It's held in escrow with his lawyer for legal expenses to, quote-unquote, defend the Kiwi Farms.
He hasn't done much of so far.
Yeah, but if his website's delisted again, it's like back at the point like you're having to like use like a Tor to get to it again. I don't know how bad it is now, but like, are you finally going to like proactively like be the plaintiff and sue one of these people, or are you just going to like hope and pray that they finally sue you so you can be the defendant?
Yeah, I wonder what will happen to what was his name? He's got a Mobius syndrome. Y'all remember?
Mobius syndrome.
The guy who's paralyzed lip, who dances around.
Russell Greer.
Russell Greer, yeah. I don't think Russell Greer is under his lawsuit. That's still going. That guy's funny. Yeah, Giovanna, you gotta know.
Because I always thought that was going to be the way. I always thought that was going to be the way he was finally going to like make it big. Is he had this legal fund? He might do kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church, because that was the one thing that it never got talked about, like how the Westboro Baptist Church got their money. Is it was the whole church was a bunch of lawyers, and when people would actually like attack them for like protesting with their like their kind of like inflammatory signs, they would sue people and get a settlement and get money, and they would just keep doing that over and over again.
And for anybody who might be listening to this, that reality where you can do like lolicon and stuff like that and do that, that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. In fact, we're going to do the... in fact, I think it already happened in 2008. Like, Noah's full of shit when he says that it's legally protected. It's not legally protected. And our current comptroller is full of shit when he says that people can't be debanked for, like, anime porn if it involves child anime. Like, no, that's never going to happen. And it's never going to be like the Westboro Baptist Church, but for lolicons, did you go? It's never going to happen, Riley. It's not going to happen. Promise you.
I don't know what that's about. I'm not
Yeah. Internet deep lore.
like, I'm kind of glad I'm out of the loop sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's some shit you can see here that you can't unsee. It's horrible.
That's why they call them the sewers. It's very autistic.
Kiwi Farms is the septic reclamation tank of the internet. I've said that for a long time.
That's fair. But, yeah, I mean, like you were saying with Turkey Tom and making an investment, because that's where he gets all his resources from. Is it a good resource anymore? Because all of the locale threads are basically dead, and everyone's on like the US politics thread or any other current happening threads. There's not much of a locale site anymore, so I don't know how much use it's going to be in the future, really.
Well, I could kind of see that. I mean, I was already starting to see it before I got banned, because there was one thread I followed towards the end there, and it was the Clownfish TV thread with Keon and his like family, and apparently there was like a backstory to him that I didn't know about. And I started following this thread because he actually like mentioned the Kiwi Farms, and everybody in the thread was like blowing up about it. But the problem was the caliber of people in the thread were really terrible. They couldn't archive anything. They were just using the thread to complain about not liking it. It's like, well, there's room for that in a thread, but like, you actually had to bring something to the table. Like, did you archive anything? Are you saving clips of the streams? Are you like investigating like information on his backstory? And nothing like that's going on in like some of these niche threads. And that's, I think, part of the decline of Kiwi Farms to a certain extent too. And I think it kind of goes back to like when Zedkist was banned. Zedkist was one of the most prolific doxers on the website.
It was a machine.
And him and Null had a falling out. So the people who kind of created the original culture of Kiwi Farms have been exiting stage left for a long time, and all you're left with is the pure just gossip part of it.
I remember
it's always been a gossip website, but you have to partner that with the documentation and archiving parts. Otherwise, it's useless.
Yeah, and I remember Null saying, "All right, Zed, you can come back if you remember what you did wrong." And I know the sort of person that Zed was. Like, he was absolutely not about that. Like, he was like a legitimate Bitcoin biker. So it was not about groveling and reducing himself to such a... But, like, the Kiwi Farms really did lose their strongest soldier that day. I don't even know if I was involved or whatever.
I even remember, like, because I would bring Zedkist up occasionally. I think Muttley one morning, like was complaining about it, because I don't think he knew I was like in general chat, just kind of lurking, and he was just, it's like, he always brings up this old guy that nobody cares about. It's like, you don't get it. You don't get what the site was built on and the culture it used to have, and how it's kind of getting like kind of bled out over time.
Muttley just likes to argue. Don't hold it against Muttley. He just loves to argue. He'll
Oh, I
argue
know.
about anything. Yeah, you know.
It's just one of those things that it just kind of like goes through the kind of like the ignorance of like the new Kiwi Farms members. And I mean, things change over time. I don't think that you can keep a website in stasis forever, but I don't know where you get that stock of kind of like politically ambiguous people who just kind of like see everybody as a target of ridicule and are autistically making sure like every web page is archived in archive.is or something, and they'd like save like a nice screenshot of it in case they get it deleted from there. And
Well, what it really was is it was people who were intelligent on the internet who were noticing people who weren't intelligent on the internet, and then those people were constructing something to talk about on the internet out of the excessive amount of personal information that these non-intelligent people would share about themselves on the internet. Not realizing that it's archived in a way that if you were talking about it in real life, it wouldn't be archived unless you were recorded. So everything is recorded, everything is actually there forever, regardless of whether or not people archive it or not. You could probably pluck it out of this or that.
And it's like recently I had like a post I put out on Twitter, and I was complaining because Donald Trump's True Social has gone out of their way to IP ban archive.org and Ghost Archive. So Trump and his team that runs his like personal like social media are going out of their way to prevent archival of the website because Trump has a habit sometimes of misspelling or saying something weird. He immediately deletes it after he realizes that and reposts it with the typo edited out, or he wants to take back something he said. And you see it in kind of discussions on Twitter back and forth where the first knee-jerk reaction of like a Trump loyalist is, well, he didn't say that. Well, if he deletes the post, well, you don't have proof, but you used to have a way to archive it and say, actually, no, he did say that. And now Trump has gone out of his way to take that away.
I remember telling you before that MAGA has turned into a cult of denial.
Yeah.
And it's funny because making America great again is so silly. Because great doesn't mean filled with grace, it means gratuitous or large. And we were at the peak of our size, and now everything that we're doing has shrunk immensely since he became president the first time. And, like, Biden's doing weird stuff. Contracting from Afghanistan, but expanding in Palestine. But then now Trump just goes, alright, we're going to do everything all at once, and then blows up everything, and now we're contracting even more. We're smaller as a country, as a nation, as an empire than we've ever been before.
I was just kind of thinking at some point Noel might actually like make his own version of an archival tool, because I don't think the people that run like archive.org or archive.is, all these sites, have the kind of like wherewithal to like do like IP changes to get around IP bans and kind of like circumvent these systems. Like I think it'd be very easy to like get around what Trump's team has done if you just thought about it. And Noah at least would be somebody that would think about something like that, whereas people run archive.org just don't seem to give a crap.
Well, it's not just that, they also take down content that they don't like, that someone complains about, says is offensive, and then they go and take it down.
It's a real
that was...
Yeah, like Zoe Quinn, she was doing that all the time, wasn't she, back in the day? Back in those halcyon...
Maybe, but I know, what was that woman that worked at the Washington Post that got fired for doxing?
Oh,
yeah, that big fight with libs of TikTok.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Nobody knows what her age actually is. I'm blanking on the name, but I think her...
She's got her own show now.
Yeah, her uncle or something like actually works for archive.org, and that's part of the reason why like some information about her is so spotty is she has a back door to get things physically taken off of archival sites.
There needs to be redundancy, like multiple archiving sites that are archiving each other constantly, archiving everything, and that's a redundancy that will help information be preserved. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna take a little break real quick. Topics. I don't know. For second wonder, could you maybe lead the conversation for a little bit?
Lead the conversation? Oh.
No, not lead.
No, there it is. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the internet's just basically dead at this point. Josh's Internet Preservation Society hasn't really done much so far to help things. And basically it's just getting worse by the day, isn't it? As soon as digital ID comes in, we're fucked, really. But like before we were talking about the farms and the changing. I think the main thing now is it's not really a community anymore. It's a bunch of disparate groups that don't like each other. You got the VTubers, for some reason, even though Josh said he hates VTubers and the anime and things like that. You've got the BPD hoes, you've got the lefties, you've got I guess the sports fans, you got the 4chaners and the Sharty refugees. They're allowed to shut up their threads and things. It's just all these different groups that don't gel well together and have nothing to do with what used to be the ethos and the community of the farms. So it doesn't feel like a cohesive site anymore, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. How long do you think the farms is going to survive for? I don't know if I give it another year really at this rate. It's going.
Maybe 2 years. I mean, there's always a chance something could change. I just I don't know. I mean, I just wonder at some point, like, how much longer can you keep a forum infrastructure or a forum set up alive? Because the way I understood it, forums were kind of like going out of style completely.
Everybody likes
Wasn't
apps.
that the case though, like 2010?
Yeah, it's been the case for a long time. So I think Kiwi Farms has always been kind of like an exception that kind of breaks the rule in that. But I just don't know how much longer that exception can hold.
Yeah.
But I've also heard some people, like, they're kind of like theorizing, like, when the Real ID actually does take effect, that people might flee to forums again. So I don't really know. I'm just kind of prognosticating, just in the ether.
But is it going to be possible that if they're controlling all the infrastructure, then couldn't ISPs just block all sites, but just a couple of social media sites, and then you have to use your Real ID to log in, and then basically they've locked out 99% of the internet. I don't know what you do at that point. Use bulletin board systems or something, or
I mean, there's always workarounds. It really just depends how much people are willing to, like, invest time into the workaround. Because I think ultimately people want to take the path of least resistance. So if it's too many hurdles, like, I know the site traffic of Kiwi Farms dropped in half when you just had to use Tor. So just having to use that specific browser was enough. Like, half of the people that normally go to the site just like, yeah, I'm not going to do it.
I don't want to put in the extra effort. Yeah. Yeah, well,
and that wasn't even like that much of an imposition if you had the link to the site, which Noah at least was smart enough to put it on, like, the splash page that displayed when the site was down, so you could find the link. And I downloaded Tor on my phone via like the F-Droid app store. So I mean, it was pretty simple to set up. It's just navigate to that hyperlink and boom, you're back on the site.
Yeah, that was what, like 2022, I think it was, wasn't it, when the site was down for months? It came back up on Tor only. Yeah, I remember using Tor as well. I remember it was always really slow though, but at least you could get on the site.
That's when I got doxxed, and that was when my episode on Mad at the Internet happened, which is not a well-archived episode. It's very hard to find it. Colonel J still has it.
It's a secret episode.
It is kind of a secret episode. It's very, very short. It's like one of the first or the second shortest episode of Mad at the Internet of all time. And it basically, like, 3/4 of it is him going through my documents and, like, absolutely butchering his interpretation of it, to the point where he legitimately wanders into slanderous tort because of the way that he is misrepresenting something that had already resolved, that is criminal and legal, like paperwork. You can't, like, have a legal paperwork in front of you and be like, aha, this thing that all these crimes that he was found innocent of, he's actually guilty of them and he's about to go to jail. Enjoy prison, stalker child. No, technically that is like full-blown slander. Libel if it's written. Y'all heard it? Cats is looking at the Flash Simulator situation unfolding. The Flash Simulator situation is crazy, guys.
I vaguely do remember that Matty stream.
Check it out sometime. I'll actually give you the link if I can find it.
Well, so the Matty streams are actually archived? Because I was going to say, I mean, this is a random thing to say, but I don't know if anyone watches Dark Side Phil stuff, but you've got the Pig Go search engine. You can search anything that Phil said. Like, type in a word, it'll find those exact instances in his videos and streams. You need some of that for Maddie, so you can go back and yeah, that's what I'm wanting. So, because there's all these things I want to go back to that Josh has said, but there's no way I'll ever be able to find any of this stuff. Like, I'm not searching through like thousands of hours of stream. So I want a way to search up certain words, which would be awesome if there's some way to use the closed captions to do that.
Yeah, Colonel J actually does a lot, big archive channel, but there's like 4 or 5 different archive channels. I remember Tanuki was a guy that archived a lot of null stuff, and like Tanuki got like betrayed and like aired out, and then he just disappeared. You know, many such cases.
Many such cases. It's a tough world out there.
It is. Damn tough world when people don't give a shit about each other.
It's all very individualist and atomized.
He was starting Warhammer 40k mini painting streams, and he was actually getting a lot of donations for that. Hopefully you parlayed something somewhere else.
You'll be out there somewhere under a new name.
Yeah. Growing up, you know, he was a young guy from what I remember. That's a scary thing about Kiwi Farms is the amount of really young people that like are fingered to have inappropriate word, but fingered to have been there for a while, and like, you know, as long as you're savvy about it and all this stuff, but you keep on hearing it again and again and again, and it's just like this is almost like a pattern, which leads me to the Flesh Simulator stuff. Apparently, there's a guy named Flesh Simulator. I was watching his stuff for like a year, and then I joined his Twitter community for like 2 months before he banned me and said that he hated me because I called him a Marxist. And then he ended up getting like completely and utterly like just absolutely owned and aired out by a bunch of communists. So that was ironic. Come to find out, this guy Tommy Gantz is like a really weird person, like truly, genuinely strange. I know there's a lot of weird people on the internet, but like this guy has like a whole cult of children on his Discord, on his like private secret Discord. He's got a whole cult of children, and he's trying to get them to drink the
Marxist
Kool-Aid.
is weird and has a cult of children on his Discord. You don't say.
The jokes write themselves. Yeah, the jokes write themselves. But seriously, like he's really. There's a guy named Westside Tyler. I just found him, and he just did 2 really good videos on Flesh Simulator if you want to find out what's been going on. It's actually really, really funny. Here's one of the newer lolcows, and guess what? Probably not going to get a friend on Kiwi Farms because guess what? He's Jewish, so it's not happening.
Oh, he definitely won't. There's already like 5 different Hoffman lolcows on the
It wasn't for Noel's APAC handler, Gabe Hoffman. The Kiwi Farms would be in a golden age for the last 2 or 3 years with all the mentally ill pieces of shit that have had so much confidence in the horrible things that they have done and all the shit that they've said on the internet and all the negative attention that they've attracted and could attract through the Kiwi Farms. That would have been 200,000, 300,000. Noel could have gotten up there in the millions if he was lucky, but no, he's gonna stay in the gutter, the damn gutter, living in the past, pretending the 80-year curse doesn't exist and isn't about to come up on 80 years already. Like he's gonna be left holding the bag, like all the Mormons, and I hope Boran Rods, Welper Helper, comes in here and we can debate Mormonism.
But the thing is, Josh is still pushing third wave feminism. It's like he hasn't changed at all in the last 10 years, which I just find so bizarre. The Overton window is shifting, everyone else is growing up and learning about everything and learning it's the Jews. He's still sitting there like it's 2013 and nothing has changed.
Actually,
I just don't understand how that's possible.
He actually used to be critical of Israel and stuff like that, and in fact,
Well,
he
that's the
said
thing,
that
yeah.
Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and then he walked it back a couple of weeks later.
Did he?
Yes, he did. He can do those things sometimes.
Because I remember that, I mean, this is just before I stopped watching Maddie because it was so boring, but when Charlie Kirk died,
Yeah.
he said, like someone in his chat said it was the Jews, and he got really pissed off. He's like, no, it's not the Jews. If you think it's the Jews, then you've got a mental problem.
Literally the day
Shit
that
like
it
that, and
happened, he said that it was probably Israel. Literally like the day or the day after it happened, and then people in
On
his
stream or...
no, in the thread. But then people in that same thread were talking about the Egyptian planes that Candace was talking about like the next week. All this stuff like is real, but it's suppressed under the current auspices of Kiwi Farms. Like APAC handling probably gives pennies for the dollars that he gets back from Noel destroying his own website for him.
But yeah, well, that's what I think Josh is definitely getting APAC money. I was just going to say before, but it's expensive, like his cost of living situation. Maybe he's in Washington D.C. so that he wants to be this big boy politician and get into all these legal cases and things.
I don't think
And he was
he's
talking about, you don't think so?
That's
We at
right,
least
I don't think so.
visited D.C. because he did say when he came.
Relatives up in DC, and ultimately what DC is just like, and this is the interesting thing, it's like ring of black people that are completely unaware of politics, and then people who work for like the Pentagon in the interior ring, and then it's just like Israelis in the center. You know, that's what DC ultimately is. I don't think Noah's
You've
up
got
to
the
that level
Holocaust
yet.
Museum.
What's wrong?
Well, one of like thousands, but I think it's like the biggest one, isn't it?
It's underneath the DC. It's the biggest Holocaust museum where they also do blood rituals.
For sure. And Ireland, for some reason, has a Holocaust museum, even though they had nothing to do with World War II, either putting Jews in concentration camps or rescuing the Jews.
There's technically an
According to
S
the official
plan. It's
narrative.
called the S plan, where the Nazis, if they had gotten to England, Ireland would have teamed up with the Nazis to kick England's ass. It was called the S plan.
I wish.
I couldn't get past
It would have
London.
been great to see. Yeah, would have been great to see them dragging Churchill out, throwing him in the gulag.
We would have probably like released Northumbria, Wales, and Cornwall just like an EU4 game. No one used to
all those
love
old
playing
history-
EU4. He loved playing Serbia over and over and over again in EU4.
Serbia. I don't. It's not my cup of tea. But you've got what's that stupid Amazon show, the Man in the High Castle? That's what we needed to happen with with America being taken by
Isn't that
Adolf.
based on a good book from a really good writer?
I have no idea, but I know like I've only seen some clips and things, and they're trying to make it. I assume it's supposed to be a bad thing. That the bad guys have taken over, but it looks certainly a lot better than our current timeline. That's for sure.
English is a Germanic language. I don't know why people fell for that. At least we're not speaking German. Like, the Luftwaffe would not have sailed Zeppelins over the frickin' Atlantic Ocean, okay? It would have happened. But they would probably have actually, like, forcibly rid Jacobinism from France and then turned over to Russia and forcibly rid them of Sovietism, of communism. And then you wouldn't have had all the second, third world, like Vietnam, Syria stuff popping up that ended up breaking into the Vietnam War and the Sykes-Picot Agreement and the Bellflower Declaration, all this other crap. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that the Nazis were the good guys. I think it was already over by the time the Nazis ended up being the dominant power over Germany, who had all these geniuses, who had all of this weaponry. They were the first people who invented the public school system so they could create 1 million soldiers and make a bunch of really, really good generals to boot.
Because there's basically 3 different things you can believe about World War II. It's either Adolf was a Jewish plant, Adolf was legit, or Adolf was legit, but there was 4D chess going on, and the Jews wanted him to get in power, so then it's like, oh, then they can destroy and crush Germany, and they say nationalism's bad, we can never have that again, we can never have an ethno-state, we've got to have this postmodern liberal shit in the Marshall Plan. So it's one of those 3.
I think it's like a
Which of the
combination.
3 do you think it is?
I think it's like a combination that, because, and remember bringing it back to Schopenhauer, like that screwed up Hitler's conceptualization of the world and prevented him from getting a 100% sinless Michael the Archangel spear to like thrust into the heart of the enemy, very specifically because he had already had like a kind of a twisted and warped ideology of the world and a lot of brain damage from the chemical weapons that were used against him in World War I. And that was the issue. And then the drugs didn't help at all. Because he used that to, and he probably didn't know like the side effects of these new experimental drugs that Germany was literally inventing, but that was a big thing. But the thing is, like, things were going really, really bad for the most evil people in the world at a certain point, and then it turned up on its head, and then, like, bribes were paid. And bribes were paid to the Germans, bribes were paid to the Americans, bribes were paid to the French and the English for things to go a certain way. And because Hitler did not have that 100% sinless spear of Michael the Archangel in his hand, with a perfect conceptualization of right and wrong and truth and falsehoods, that, I believe, is where the plans were instantly made by these very, very meticulous bean counters to subvert the entire situation. The worst thing humanity has ever gone through was World War I and World War II, with World War II being worse than World War I, setting the stage for World War II. The bean counters took that and then used it to create the International Holocaust Museum, which then, you know, as we saw, like, extracted out of countries all over the world, and then like created this like
Still to this day.
zeroth class. Yeah, instead of a first or second or third class, it created this zeroth class. The untouchable Brahmin of all global neoliberal society was Zionism, not Jews, Zionists.
And somehow there's more Holocaust survivors every year. Like they just keep springing up out of nowhere. And
A 30-year-old woman who
we've gotta
said
pay
that she's a
more bill.
Holocaust survivor.
But the what? Sorry.
There was a 30-year-old woman recently that was caught on video saying that she's a Holocaust survivor. Crazy.
Maybe she was frozen in some sort of cryo chamber for decades. I mean, and meanwhile, the 60 million Russians that were killed by the Bolsheviks, the Jewish Bolsheviks, we never thought about that.
Nope.
And the bombing of Dresden, the firebombing, we never thought about that.
We brag about
And
that.
yeah. Well, I found out the other day, too, something I'd never heard of. But apparently during World War II in London, they had this Pied Piper operation, I think it was called, where they took all the children away forcefully from the parents and not only shipped them out to the country, but they shipped them around to Australia and I think to America and to New Zealand and things like that.
Ooh, the
So,
Five Eyes
It was
countries.
just crazy. Yeah. Like, did they ever return them? I don't know. Is it just all these kids that just never saw their parents again?
Did you know that during Passover, there's always a spike in missing child cases?
Well, there is, yeah. There's ridiculous numbers
Yep.
if you look at the statistics that are never found again.
It's a serious problem, and people are aware of this problem, and people are going to start taking steps to solve this problem. And what's going to come up as a roadblock that has been being constructed right now is drones. And sorry if this offends you guys, ICE agents in the street shooting people to prevent the pedophile Zionists from having any justice done in their court. I promise you. I'm sorry if you think ICE is going to protect you from rapist immigrants that are brought in from Zionists, but it's not. Just like the rest of the
They're just
justice
another
systems
alphabet
around the world.
agency. They're all, you can't trust any glowies.
I do really worry about people who say the only problem in the world is immigrants. The only problem in the world is immigrants. The only problem in the world is immigrants. It's only immigrants. And where are the immigrants coming from? They're immigrants. It's them. They're the illegal ones. They're the problem. And it's just like, of course there is a subsection, 10 to 20% of these people, especially based on what they've gone through in their life, that are violent, sick, traumatized individuals that inflict their trauma on other people. However, where are they coming from is the question that is oftentimes left out of this equation, and it needs to be asked, where are they coming from?
Like, oftentimes they're coming from areas that Israel, the Jews have got America to bomb, and then they hate the West. So then the Jews ship them over to our countries, live in our countries, and they hate us and want to kill us.
Hey man, you said it,
And
not
then,
me.
of course,
But yeah, that's no joke. That's some real life shit. I hate to say. And we gotta figure this out in an intelligent way. Otherwise, the same thing that happened in Germany is gonna happen in America. It's gonna be split long ways instead of far ways. I promise you, it's gonna be split between Catholics and Protestants, and the Catholic side is straight up going to be destroyed, like communism destroyed the eastern part of Germany. Straight up, promise you. Texas, California, Florida, they're all going to become seats. Louisiana, they're all going to become seats of the destruction of everything around them. And it's going to be declared like the Catholic zone cursed. And then the Protestant zone up in the north, the Yankees, they're going to, with all their wealth and all their ability to coalesce a society, union stuff, they'll survive in a diminished state.
But, yeah, because that's the thing, is like, obviously, shortly, like I'd say by 2030, a lot of people say 2045 and things like that, there's going to be governments will all collapse in the West, because basically now they're just, they're just all in shambles already, and there's just chaos everywhere, anarcho-tyranny, and they're flooding in millions of people from foreign countries every day. And so with the US at least, they've got everything broken into states. So maybe if the federal government falls to bits, there's a chance that one or two states can basically become independent and wall off the borders and survive that way. But I don't know. I'm very
Rolling off the
black-pilled when
borders
it
isn't going to
comes
prevent 20 million Indians from being bussed into the country.
No.
Yeah.
The Indians will just climb over each other's backs to get over the wall.
We really cannot scapegoat the abuela trying to save her child from the Honduran gangs that we have funded in the last 40, 50 years. We cannot scapegoat that. Especially we cannot scapegoat any Christians, for the love of God. We really, really can't allow ourselves to create a mechanism that does that, because you would see the exact same thing in the Middle East, right here in your backyard. Massive amounts of Christians being slaughtered, Christian holy sites being desecrated. That's just how the system goes. It's the system of the Antichrist that's been prophesied for thousands of years, where they're not picky about what they destroy. They just like destruction.
And basically, we're like 1 second from midnight, where it's all about to go to hell.
You know, it's all about to go to hell for them if we get our shit together. You know, it's literally like a couple of degrees away from them having their house of cards and Jenga tower completely collapse. That's true.
Is it? I mean, I kind of, the way I see it is that at least since World War II, all the people of all the countries in the West, all the tribes of Europe, and so they've all been atomized and individualized and demoralized, as Yuri Bezimov put it. So they don't see themselves as a group. They don't have an in-group preference. So they don't really care about anything happening around them. They just care about themselves and just following what the government tells them to do, and hedonism and consuming and things like that.
Well, it seems like the Protocols of the Order of Zion was applied very, very effectively in those areas to divide people into a whole bunch of different little individual atomized cubicles, and then to take them over one by one and put against each other.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If you can't even get our peoples to care about what's going on, most people still to this day don't care. Then how do you get any action done?
There's so many problems. What are you gonna, put your attention on? Well, the best advice, as is often given, is focus on your local area. Do your neighborhood watch. Then maybe if you have energy for it, get involved in local politics. Then maybe after you're involved in local politics, you can get involved in state politics, and then you can make your state better. Because so many people in California, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida have let their states go to absolute shit. I am very, 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 very worried about violent police state stuff coming in. Because these are the places where the Israelis are going to come in, and they're going to use drones, and they're going to use, I guess, robot automatons or something like that. And then 80 IQ people like Pete Hegseth and his ilk to go out and hurt people that even try to make any difference in their local area. And they're gonna be very subversive about it. They'll use little gangs, little bicycle gangs here and there, and they'll be very subversive about it in undermining your local area. I've already actually watched a blueprint under DeSantis in Florida of what they do. They crank up the infrasound through things like LNG plants, and people making a tremendous amount of noise on the street so that people can't sleep properly. And then when people can't sleep properly, people's kids can't sleep properly, they mess up and make decisions. They either hurt themselves or they leave because they can't stand it. And they also get sick more often, which goes into the whole sickness industrial complex here in America. And after that, after they've moved a lot of people out through this, then they start moving gangsters in. They start moving the same sort of settlers that are doing pogroms in the West Bank into your local area, these gangsters. And this is something that's probably been happening in California and New York for a very, very long time, where the long-term effect is gangs popping up all over the place. But it takes people like Kendrick Lamar to actually, to stop the whole divide and conquer thing, because why do Bloods and Crips hate each other? It doesn't make any sense. And if you actually, talk to people and you went into the jails and you talk to people, you'll notice that people would much, much rather get along than fight. They really do have that in their heart. It's when people see their childhood friend get shot in the street. That's the stupid Chicago drill shit that these Jews are pumping through our system that is poison.
Like what you were saying before about the noise and things, what's creating the noise? Like the 5G towers? Or just various...
Low, not 5G, LNG, light natural gas turbines, gigantic diesel engines, LNG turbines, data centers and stuff like that. The data centers serve multiple purposes, both wiping out tremendous amounts of protected land, which causes flooding and stuff like that, but also it's not just about generating electricity and or stealing electricity, stealing water. It's not just about that and generating AI images. That's all a shell. Deep inside, they're doing they're bottling up water, they're stealing the resources in the area, and they're creating a tremendous amount of noise to drive people out of their homes so that they can buy up the homes through BlackRock and Blackstone, reduce the equity in the area, control people who would normally have fought very hard and worked towards a situation of self-autonomy. The LNG plants, whether they're for data centers or not, they're actually really, really, really bad. Like, really bad. And you won't know it. You wouldn't know it until one of them moves into your backyard. Just how awful the infrasound is. It causes damage to the heart at a certain level. Just low levels of infrasound causes you to feel like the area that you're in is haunted.
Because it just seems like the noise pollution in general is getting worse and worse and worse.
Sure is, and so is the light pollution, and that's all by design.
Yeah. Well,
That simulator guy tries to teach people how to make noise machines and light machines because he wants to make it even worse, because he's an army brat Jew who's part of this whole thing.
Because you've got changing the street lights, and they're a lot more painful to look at. And the modern street headlights on cars and things, the halogen lights, they're very bright.
Well, it's not the halogens, it's the LEDs. But the halogens I'm not a fan of either. I wish we could go back to the soft, cold light. That was nice.
Yeah, but it just seems to be getting more and more painful, both with sound pollution and light pollution. But like you said about BlackRock and Blackstone, is there a reason that the Jews like to use that name? I mean, you've got both the
I'll tell you why.
The Blake model.
I'll tell you why.
You've got both.
I do know. Well,
you've got both the Blake monolith of Saturn. You've got the apparent 33 French mile Blackstone on the North Pole. Is there something to that? Or?
Yes, it is. It's a Saturnine Gnostic cube, which is like it's a symbol of Remphan. Remphan is Zeus. Zeus is the devil. Not technically, but in the eastern, southeastern rite, Zeus is like Satan. Not in the like Northern Greek rite, not in the Macedonian rite, not in the Italian rite. Zeus is not Satan. Zeus is closer to the Deus in our R1b higher intelligence supercluster. But down in the Levant, the Levites, those people think that Zeus is the devil. Okay, so the altar of Pergamum that they extracted over to Berlin, that was supposed to be the altar of Satan. Oh, yeah, yada, yada, yada. But the Star of Remphan is actually that six-pointed empty seal of Solomon, as the Star of Remphan, also known as the Star of Metatron, the angel/shadow that sits behind God's throne. And the cubes, like the phylacteries and stuff like that, every time you see one of those, that's where Remphan is. Remphan being the devil. So, like, literally Satan worshipping monsters that worship, like, the head of the fallen angels. They love the cube. And ultimately, one can only wonder if the Kaaba in Mecca is somewhat of a, like, no, we're not going to listen to Jesus, we're going to go this way instead, you know? They're easy on the Islamists just because they're getting their asses, well, they're actually kicking ass back, but...
But I mean, it's not really fair, given that Israel gets billions of dollars for defense systems.
That doesn't matter. That does not matter compared to the Iranians, who have a tremendous amount more intelligent people in their society, tremendous amount more hard-working people in society. In fact, I would say the person who gets welfare to the tune of billions is probably the weakest person in the world. And guess what? We've actually seen that firsthand. Everything that they've done, they're weird, like, oh, we're going to shapeshift every 80 years so that we can, you know, blend into this place and then get kicked out 100 plus times, and blend into that place and blend into this place. They can't do that faster than we can figure it out through the internet. The internet sparks information on gold pathways which travel at the speed of light. They'll travel across the world. We can all get this stuff instantly, even if it tries to get deleted. And they think that they can use this to undermine us and make fools of us, but ultimately the long-term reality and why they've been trying to censor the internet so much is that they are the fools. They are the weak ones. They are the subhumans at the end of the day. No, they're getting their asses kicked. The Iron Dome is just gone. It just doesn't exist at this point. Whatever they're still firing up is stuff that we've had to bring in from other places. They're completely decimated. They're getting their shit rocked, which everybody is happy about. 7/8 of the world is cheering Iran on. And, like, the last 8, like, most of their population is cheering Iran on, too. The Israelis just don't know how much people hate them. They really, really don't. And you know what? There's a good percent of the country that isn't bad people at the end of the day.
Yeah, but the only problem is though is that they're such evil people that they may go for the Samson option if they see that they're losing, because they don't, it's basically if they can't have control of the world, no one can. Will they then launch nukes and destroy the entire planet?
Nukes aren't as big as we think, and the planet is really, really big. They're not going to be able to do anything. Their terrorist threats about bombing metropoles are only going to go as far as they go because they ultimately know that the metropoles are the place that they have the most purchase in. So of course that's not going to happen. They're not going to do shit. They're probably really genuinely not going to do shit. They're probably going to continue to flee into Argentina and flee into Thailand and flee into Greece.
And Ukraine.
And well, no, because of Putin. He knows all of the stuff, the Mossad, MI6, KGB stuff. He knows all of this stuff, and he instead decided to turn against it and become the new Prester John. And God bless Putin. Truly, I prayed for that man for many, many years. Just as I prayed for Null that he would take a different path than he did, but he didn't.
No, sadly he didn't. I mean, do you think either Null was forced to become what he's become, or do you think he saw the easy money and decided?
Honestly, I think a lot of the stuff about him getting DDoSed is him DDoSing himself and then going, "Oh, I fixed it," when he stops DDoSing himself. I truly do believe that. I truly do believe that he's a liar and a fraud and a faker, and that he's not under nearly as much stress and trauma as he thinks he is. And if he's willing to accept that, then he can start growing up out of this like dirt that he's in. Otherwise, he's just going to be dirt. He's going to be worthless. But truly, there's no coming back to the kiwi farms until he changes his attitude.
Yeah, well, exactly. But yeah, because I think, I mean, it could be that he's forced into this sort of shit. But yeah, I think he's very immature. He's been sitting alone in his room playing video games and posting bullshit on forums for too long. And he just needs a wake up call, really. But. The problem, I mean, have you seen? I've been looking into the Kiwi Gold members because he's got 800 now, and you would expect that there would be people that have used the farms for a long time. They've got a large amount of posts, but a lot of them have like 40 posts and things like that. They're new accounts that are paying $20 USD a month. So to me, it's a couple of people giving him money through, like basically money laundering.
That could be himself too. That could legitimately
be himself. Yeah.
Maybe. Like, not just himself, but like his Praetorian Guard making stocks or alts, who they have like another account, and then they post on that account every once in a while. It's entirely possible that Null is Little Drip, that Null is also like 3388 or whoever that person was. I don't think he's Seafarer. I think Seafarer is a different person. But it's entirely possible that he has 2 or 3 alts.
I think he definitely was Little Drip.
It's quite possible. 60 to 80% on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a man. It's just whether or not it's Josh. It's either a big fan of Josh or it's Josh pretending to be a woman.
Oh, shit, I didn't mess it up. Okay, good. I was clicking on stuff through the stream. I was just like, I messed it up.
No, they're still all going.
Good. This has been a fun stream, man. This has been a fun stream. I'm glad that you showed up. Did you have anything else that you have to attend to? Cool, I don't want to keep you too long.
No, so I probably should go and start getting things done soon, but I can stay for a bit longer.
Sure, man. However long you want to stay. I don't want to distract you from your Eastertide responsibilities. Are you a Christian?
No, I'm not a Christian. No.
You should be. It's a really fun thing when you actually have a good conceptualization of how much history leads to the cross, and how much Jesus really tried to prevent the Jews from turning into the monsters that they turned into, and then instead it ended up going, the covenant of David is now the covenant of all people. We're all welcome to join this covenant.
Yeah, well, do you know you probably know the Murdoch show that used to be? Yeah.
Pathetic, truly.
Because he did like he wrote like memoirs. I'm pretty sure it was recently that he wrote them. And he was talking about how basically the choice is which way Western man. Do we trust Christianity, or is it like a trick of the Jews, or do we go the other way back to like a Greek pantheon or something like that, or something completely new? Like atheism is an option, but is Christianity a good thing for us, or has it always been a bad thing? Did it create the Middle Ages, like the Dark Ages, when it came to power? Or
they're very distinct. an Irish person, I get very upset about people talking about the Dark Ages because some people, like the Italians and the Germans, they talk about the Dark Ages as if it were, oh, history is lying to you about yada yada yada. No, there was a bunch of Jewish Aryan, as in Arian, Arianism, not Aryan, which might have had some synchronicity, like bleed in with German thought or whatever. There's a lot of occultism that led into the Lutheran Revolution, believe it or not. But let's not get into that. Let's just talk about the point that just dropped out of my mind because I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm stupendous.
Based Martin Luther King.
Yeah, but let's see. Murdoch's point is the exact same point that was tried and tested by the Nazis themselves, and it did not work. It didn't work at all. Very specifically because Christianity, when it's done properly, is legitimately a speculum that you can see through clearly. Legitimately, it focuses on the God of truth, and what is true, good, and beautiful are the only things allowed into true Christian faith. And if you're really, really serious about it, if you have a good Christian advisor, he will give you the truth like 98, 99, 100% of the time. If you have an occultist advisor, they will like roll some bones, you know, they will split open an animal and read its entrails, and then they'll guess some stuff like what is it? The coins, the original, the turtle bone back in China, you know, not the Tao Te Ching. Is it?
The coins. The
coins, you know, there was like 40 coins, and like how those coins would flip, and in the temple of the Jews, they also have 2 coins that they flip, and if it come up snake eyes, the thing is accepted, and apparently that hasn't been coming up snake eyes at all for the last 2,000 years. But regardless of all that conversation, because I almost never hear that conversation coming from honest people. Like, if you're honest, you are very successful. Women like you. Men want to be around you. Women want to be with you. Men want to be you. You know, stuff like that. If you're really, really honest and you're really, really like, you got to think of people like Charlemagne, and you got to think of people like the French knights and the Reconquista and the Spaniards that did that, to see real, true Christianity, not this degraded, nasty state of Catholicism in the last 60 years turning into a global pedophile network, unironically, because it got killed by the CIA after Operation Gladio. And Sunni Islam, like the same sort of satanic crap is popping up out of them too. And you think, well, is atheism the way? No, obviously not, Nietzsche, because if you're an atheist, you just end up like worshiping your body until you end up in a trap, which is what Christians
worship false gods and things like that.
Well, it's not necessarily even about false gods, because all of those gods are supposed to be conceptualizations of angels and demons that are also conceptualizations of psychology. I think Carl Gustav Jung, if more atheists actually studied Carl Gustav Jung and Marie-Louise von Franz, they would either not be atheists or be very honest atheists. But a lot of atheists they're saying that they know for a fact that, as opposed to agnostics, atheists are saying that they know for a fact what happens when you die is XYZ. Which is just like, well, I can tell you from personal experience that I've taken a bunch of Benadryl and I have died, and a chrysanthemum is opened up. And I've also done DMT before, and it's the exact same thing, because your brain dumps all your N-dimethyltryptamine, bioavailable natural DMT. It dumps it when it thinks you're dying. And you go through this chrysanthemum.
You saw the tunnel of light.
The tunnel of life takes you to a chrysanthemum, and this is this 4D object that you have to go through. And then once you're there, it's like one of those tool videos, sort of like one of those tool videos. And that's only the loading screen. And once you're past the loading screen, then you're in it. Then you see universal truth, love, justice, all at once, and it hits you, and the world of consciousness will assail you throughout it, because you will see every bad thing you've ever done unto you as if you were the person. It's just like the story of King Esarhaddon. You know, when King Esarhaddon is essentially baptized underwater, and then he sees himself as his enemy being tortured and killed, and then he sees himself as the animals that have been hunted, even though they had babies and stuff like that. He feels it, he sees it first person. And then he lifts his head up and he's just like, oh, I've suffered for so long. And the old man is just like, I have only started to pour the water. Like, for real! I don't want anybody to be an atheist, because then they will be unprepared for what comes next. And Christianity, when it's done right, when we listen to the saints, when we listen to God's pleroma, we really truly get a good conceptualization of right and wrong and true and false, and that's what Hitler would have needed in order to really bring Europe back to where it was before, the strong, unified state of the fascist, ideology. Like, Mussolini was willing to be on board, but, like, Hitler scared him. Hitler straight up scared Mussolini because he's like, dude, is this guy this guy think he's possessed by Wotan? The god of the hanged man? The god of Wednesday?
That's what Mussolini said?
That's what Mussolini said. That Hitler talked about how he was possessed by the spirit of Wotan, and he left him completely disorientated and confused. Yeah, I feel bad for Mussolini sometimes. He's kind of a jackass, though.
Well, he met a horrible end at the hands of Jews.
Yep. And oh my God, Italy suffered the worst end of the Cold War. The Cold War wasn't cold for southern Italy, it was very hot. It was called the Years of Lead. And that's part of Operation Gladio. And that also happened in Turkey. And that's the reason why Turkey isn't really Muslim. And they're not fighting for the Palestinians, and they're not on board with the Iranians and helping them and stuff like that. Even though like 90% of their population is. Turkey has been taken over the same way as the Vatican has been taken over, which is to say by a small group of people who have a tremendous amount of firepower. But that firepower is antiquated compared to what we have through the internet, through 3D printers, and stuff like that. It really is antiquated. So there's hope.
But, well, yeah, warfare's changed so much as in the near future. Will guns even be useful at all?
Well, they're certainly shooting the Apache helicopters that are trying to save the people bailing out from F-15s and F-35s. And they're actually hitting the people in those Apache helicopters, so it's just like, it just depends, If you have abortion and you have poisoning and you have low birth rates, guns aren't going to matter at all, right? And in fact, most of people's military equipment is going to be turned on them as opposed to any invading force,
Yeah, well, I think it was 2022 in Wales and in Scotland, it might have been England as well, as a third of all children were aborted. By it's just sickening.
It is.
You have to, and that's the thing. Like, people were talking about the silent die-off, or the quiet die-off, where basically just everyone of European descent is quietly dying off, and the birth rates drop, so like we're not being replaced. So how much of us are really left at this point?
It was never about reducing the population. They flooded a bunch of people into metropoles and then did something to boost the birth rate. I'm not sure, but like that was never sustainable. The high metropole birth rate was never sustainable, and neither was with internationalism, anyways.
But yeah, the Jews took like $2 trillion from every Western country since World War II to fund feeding the third world and building infrastructure in cities and things. And
it's interesting how much
as
people have been exploding out of Africa. It's like 20 times the population it was 200 years ago.
Yeah, and now that I guess they're not sending as much of our money over there, so then people are starving, and then they want to make it our problem. But if it wasn't for the Jews artificially inflating their population rate, then there wouldn't be people starving. They should still be living in small tribes and grass huts, not in these. You've got these third world countries, so they live in these hives. So these cities are like warrens.
Yeah.
Just look like absolute
utopia experiment.
Yeah. And they shouldn't have plastic and things. If they just had mud and sticks and stones, it wouldn't matter if they threw it at the side of the street. But if we gave them plastic, those other shit, and polystyrene and things, they throw it all over the show and the rivers and things.
Yep.
It's just.
Have you seen Guyana? The border of French Guyana and Guyana is just like clean, dirty, clean, dirty.
Yeah.
It depends on how it was monitored,
Well, now all of our countries are filthy because they're all living in our countries.
The people coming in here under DeSantis that I said were causing problems, they litter all the time. It's like, I'm thinking, what, are you raising a trash heap? Probably.
So you've got in England I saw recently there's a river that's now just entirely rubbish. The whole thing's just a river of rubbish now. It's just so depressing.
Did you know they turned the place Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified, into a garbage dump?
Seriously?
Yeah, and you know what? If
I'm
you
not
really,
surprised. I'm not surprised.
if you like seriously, this is really good advertisement for you, man. Like, consider like gravitating towards a good, wholesome church who does not do Christian Zionism, because if they don't do Christian Zionism, they're probably really, really helpful and loving and decent people.
But you can't trust any church. Like even around here, like I live rurally, I get pamphlets in the mail from the local churches, and they always have a black man with a white woman, the usual black rock
Well, then
Jewish
you know.
propaganda.
Then you know, just to avoid them. And then you go to a church where you think that people are like representative of their actual community. Just ask them, "Hey, are you guys Christian Zionism?" And they're like, "Christian Zionism? What's that?" And then you got your home, man. You found your people. Because we're so much stronger together. They're trying to do the same thing with us individually, cubicles. And everybody has their own individual branded thing. That's why a lot of the forums where people come together and talk about things are dying. Because everybody needs to have their own individualized cubicle and their video games and nothing else. And autistic diets and stuff like that, all is pushed to us so that we can stay individualistic and not linked up to our fellow man and not thinking about our fellow man and how we can strengthen ourselves and grow through them. And like that is making us so weak. We haven't built anything with, you know, atheistic ideology in the last 20 years. We haven't built anything.
No, nothing good anyway. Well, nothing that lasts either. It all falls to bits in a couple of years.
Plastic sags so quickly. If you've ever gotten plastic furniture like I have, it sags so quickly and it stops being useful.
Everything's made just to fall to bits in an instant.
Yeah.
But do you, I mean, speaking of all the old marvelous structures and things that are still around, have you been looking into the Tartaria stuff at all?
No, what's about that? I've heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around for a long time, I think, but it's blown up last year, I'd say. But basically, it's talking about this alternative history, that most of history is a lie, and that there was actually, technologies were actually discovered and invented rather much earlier than it's said to be the case. And there was this grand empire that they called Tartaria, and most of the cities and all these old structures and things were built by this empire, and then some catastrophe happened, and then it was all repopulated and a new story was invented as to where these things came from.
Now, I love me some Finno-Ugric hyperwar memes. I love me some Finno-Ugric hyperwar memes. But this is Aryan
You might
theory.
enjoy it then.
This actually goes into a real thing where the languages from India all the way to England are connected, which is Indo-Europeanism. The Indo-European
Well, isn't
people.
that? Yeah, isn't it? I forget how you say the name. Scythians, is it?
The Scythians are the ones that Ruthenia was this like really advanced ancient civilization around 15,000 years ago around the northern Black Sea. That's the place where people with blue eyes first came from. It's been confirmed through genealogical data. And genealogical data actually does confirm there was a supercluster called Indo-Europe, the Indo-European language, which all the European languages are derived from, except for Yiddish. Yeah, and we, our ancestors, came up from the Indus Valley. We brought the wheel, because the wheel was invented in India like 30,000 years ago. So we brought carts, and then we brought horses on carts, and through Russia, or Tartaria, essentially.
Yeah, and I guess, and then basically immigrated from right to left into Europe. Wait, it was talking about Europe anyway.
Also Korea. The road that the North Koreans talk about, the 10,000-mile road, that's a real thing. That's a real thing that connects Finland to Korea. But this was a little bit more of a later pulse. The earlier pulse created the Roman Republic by bringing horses that weren't in Europe to Europe. And so you can tell this because at a certain point there is no mention of horses, no horse gods or anything, and at a certain point Epona, the proto-Celtic horse god, was brought down through the Como-Bergamo region down into Etruskia, Tuscany, and gave them their chariot god. And then the Romans formed the Republic to synthesize all these cultures after getting horses and going around on these horses, sending emissaries like Genghis Khan, and then bringing all the roads back, so the roads were for the horses, roads back to Rome. And then they formed the Roman Imperium, which you can actually trace along the same lines that olive trees naturally grow. The greater olive tree supercluster was the early Roman Empire. And then that expanded into like a sort of a Persian supercluster at a certain point. So yes, no, the Tartarians, our ancestors, the Indo-Europeans, they were responsible for the creation of Rome. It's something that the Italians never give us credit for.
So, and then eventually it all broke apart, and you got the Byzantine Empire and I guess West and East Rome.
Well, Jews have been screwing with the Germans for a very, very long time. And one thing, here's the thing, here's a little bit of history, you'll love this. The King Harold, one of the first Christian kings of Denmark, he had a bunch of Jews show up on his shores with gifts and plans and all sorts of intriguing things, and he brought them in and he made them part of his court. And then that's when the Vikings started to fuck around with people. They were actually mercenary groups. Yes. And I hate to say that because a lot of people love the Odinists and the Vikings and all that stuff, but it's not actually the strength of European culture. The strength of European culture, and I say this as an Irish person, was preserved during the Dark Ages in Ireland. Today is actually the day of Kevin of Donegal, who lived to be 120 years old. So there are a lot of people who live to be 120. One of them is the king of Tartessios, which is basically the king of Atlantis. He lived in southern Portugal. And this is a major silver trading fishing empire that king lived to 120. This saint lived to 120. Ireland preserved the Christian faith, whereas a bunch of Jewish German people came in and took over through the Ostrogoths and screwed it all up and split the two Christian Roman empires in half. Kind of a natural thing that was planned from the very beginning when these pedophile elites from the Roman Empire stopped paying their taxes and created their own weird little satrapies. But then the Irish King Thurlow in the 11th century, he said, "Oh, Jewish traders, merchants, plan makers, bean counters, get the hell out of here. You are not welcome." And that's exactly why Ireland has been in the crosshairs of England for the last 800 years, because they killed the English. You might have read this in the history of central banking. They killed the English kings. They formed the York Mason rite of killing of the king.
Cromwell.
Nah, motherfucker. I want his head on the spike. Oh, wait.
I hate that Cromwell movie, that epic, because it's all lies. So they try to paint him as the good guy, and the king was corrupt.
He legalized Jewish people coming back into England. He legalized Jewish people coming back to England after they were banned. Yeah, he was terrible, and that's why I fear the new guy, this farmer freak. This new guy, well, he maybe not a freak, but I think he is. And not to denigrate farmers. I love farming myself. But this guy, he created something called the Cromwell Club, which is his top donor club. And I'm just like, uh-oh, that's a bad sign. This guy's going to do anything about the actual, the source of the immigrants. He's just going to, torture the immigrants to death and turn them into slaves and harvest their organs and send those organs back to Israel for whatever reason, so these vampires can live to 80, 90 while doing drugs.
So you get the adrenochrome.
That's not real. That was Hunter S. Thompson creating something to figure out why these freaks are doing these rituals that they've been doing for 3,000 years where they torture children and eat them.
Probably because they're demons, I think.
Probably.
Do you think they were the Phoenicians?
Also the Canaanites, and the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, and the Carthaginians. They all sacrificed children.
Yeah, there's altars all over the show that they've found.
And the story of the binding of Isaac was actually Abraham was supposed to sacrifice his firstborn. This is like Passover, and all of this alludes to the fact that the children of Cain, the Canaanites, where the word cannibal comes from, Canaanite Baal worshiper, were sacrificing their children, and they forced all of their citizenry to sacrifice their firstborn. Abraham bound Isaac and took him up to an altar and was going to sacrifice him, but an angel stayed his hand and he found a perfect sacrifice in the ram. Ramses the 16th or whatever the heck. That was the era of the ram, and Jesus was the ultimate ram, and Jesus entered into the next ion as the ultimate sacrifice for the next 2,000 years as the fish. So the early Christian symbols were the fisher of men, and also the two fishes swirling together, which is Christ and Antichrist battling. It's also about 100 AD the Chinese figured out yin and yang is the same concept, and Taoism as a monotheism to come up out of their Tao Te Ching weird, pagan tribalism, which matched the time. So all the Jews that think that they're still Jews, they're just living 3,000 years ago, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. The 10 tribes that weren't Benjamin and Judah, they turned back to the golden calf, which is worshiping Baal and worshiping Moloch. sacrificing, eating children, pimping them out, doing evil stuff like that.
Yeah, well, they kidnap our children and they rape them and they eat them.
Simon of Trent.
Not necessarily in that order.
No, it happens all the time. That's Simon of Trent. It's called blood libel when you bring it up, and they would never try to silence it. They would, if they cared, they would be on board with investigating it, but they don't care, and they're legitimately responsible for that.
Well, it's crazy. Like, you come to find out all the fairy tales and things like Hansel and Gretel are all children's stories warning about what the Jews were actually doing. Like eating children, of course. Like, you've got the Rothschild hunting lodge in the Black Forest in Germany, where they hunt people in the forest.
Yep.
Like that movie Surviving the Game, which I guess is the Jews just sort of hinting that that's what they do, as they like to do. So yeah, you come to find out that all this shit's going on all over the show, and has been for I guess since the dawn of time.
I mean, look at the banking goblins in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It resonates with people.
It does. It has to be on purpose, surely. It can't be a coincidence. There's no coincidences.
She kind of sloppily threw everything together. She's like a late Jenny come lately for the anthroposophical movement. Theosophy and anthroposophy. Those are the two things you need to understand what was happening around 1890 to 1940 that caused it to look like that. So you have Madame Blavatsky, and you have the Tibetan Grandmasters. So, and you have Stalin, and you have Himmler, and Himmler went to Tibet. And a lot of the people who say the Nazis should have won, they said they should have left Himmler in Tibet. That would have been a good call. And then Stalin, much later, would go to California and hang out with Madame Blavatsky, who also went to Tibet. And 1890 is when 1870 is when Theosophy was formed. Theosophy is the combination, the melting down, the alchemical melting down, and tackle boxing of all the world's religious aspects. Because you can pull stuff out and manipulate people at will, stuff from very ancient religions and stuff from new religions, all combined, melted down into a new world religion. It's very Antichrist-esque, Revelation-esque. And then anthroposophy in the 1890s was formed when people aligned that to races, which is very Calvinist, to say that Irish people aren't white, but Indians can be white, and yada yada. It's very Calvinist, because the terms don't actually mean skin color. They actually mean select and non-select, which is to say chosen by God from the very beginning of the birth through the Akashic records, or non-chosen. And that's the religion of the Nazis, is anthroposophy. And that's where the calipers came from. So your skull can get lumped up throughout your life, and then you fail the test. Which is to say, you're unlucky because God doesn't like you. It's just an advanced form of Calvinism, really. And John Calvin was very likely John Cohen, and he brought back Jewish predeterminist, materialistic, pharisaical philosophy into the Christian religion. That's the religion of the Netherlands and London.
Yeah, Stalin got around a lot, didn't he? There's a lot of photos with him with FDR and Churchill.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you get many different stories. Are they all three Jews? Are they half Jewish? Are they Shabbos Goy?
I think Churchill was just the perfect Shabbos Goy. I think Churchill was the perfect Shabbos Goy. FDR probably might have actually been a little Jewish.
Yeah, I think it's that, because I think that too, but then he mysteriously happened to constantly die of a heart attack right at the end of...
Well, his heart rate was like 220, and then they put him into a hot spring. That's what happened with him. And then his vice president, Truman, the least educated, but that doesn't mean anything, but most importantly, like one of the stupidest presidents of all time, bombed the shit out of Japan, one of the smartest countries of all time, because he was basically jealous.
Japan didn't want anything to do with it. They desperately wanted to get out of this pointless war, but
yep. They had sacrificed so much. It was such a sunk cost fallacy at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just you see. I don't know, is there a single church left that isn't corrupted? You see all the churches and they put up the pride flags and they have the drag queens come in and all this shit.
Faith is coming back. It really is. It's exploding since 2020. Yeah, people took some time in 2020 and they looked and they figured out what was the issue, because the internet is a wonderful tool.
Because so your family's Christian. I know that you've always been a Christian, or is it something you've picked up over
All over
time?
the- I've been in like 20 different churches, so I can tell you, yeah, it's very hard to find your place. It's very hard to find a congregation that's serious 100% of the time. And my mom never accepted compromises, so I've been to like 20 different churches. I eventually settled into a Sedevacantist Catholic church, which is to say that the current pope, the pope before him, the pope before him, the pope before him, the pope before him are all invalid, and that we're still going off Pius XII rules. Or was it Pius
Oh.
XIII? Yeah, I think it's Pius XIII.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back before Catholicism was corrupted.
Mhm.
But
It was
what-
really,
so your
really
mother-
corrupted.
Yeah. So your mother was always finding things she didn't like at each church you're at. Then so you tried the next church.
My
in
dad was
town and
Protestant.
whatnot.
He was always willing to like kind of get along to go along and get along and go along. But my mom came from a Catholic family, and then was like part of the the 3% Catholic people in North Carolina when I was raised, and she was terrified of the Ku Klux Klan members doing parades in the streets and stuff. Even though she really didn't necessarily have any reason to be afraid, she just was. She fears very easily, and so she kind of kept a little bit of a Catholic bearing through her life. Even though she became Protestant for a while, and then she was kind of agnostic for a while, and then eventually, well, she was very depressed at that time, and then she eventually gravitated back towards Catholicism. But first she took a little pit stop in Orthodoxy, which is the same thing that I did. Orthodoxy is really rich, but there is an issue where you have the Greek Orthodox is completely zogged, utterly zogged, the Greek Orthodox. Nothing's worse than them, really. And then you have the Moldovan Orthodox, and if you know anything about the history of Moldova was called the Pale of Settlement,
No.
where they had like 25 to 50% of the population was Jewish, because those were all the Jewish refugees from the Middle East and from Byzantium. And so Moldova is one of the most Jewish-blooded, but they converted to Orthodoxy en masse. Now, after the communism stuff, of course, through the Soviet, Judaic thought was elevated and Orthodox thought was suppressed, but the Babushkas kept the faith alive. And Russia is very, very, very good in that. However, you know, the KGB, gangsters, all that stuff that pervades every culture. It gets really amplified by us in the West, what happens in the East, but, you know, just because we're not close enough to see it with crystal clarity.
So I've seen footage of them when the Bolsheviks took over, them tearing down all the Orthodox churches. Really sad to see. Like all these grand cathedrals and things, and they're all being destroyed, just willy-nilly, just pulling down all the statues and things and smashing all the stained glass windows and all that. Yeah.
Calvinists did that actually 200 years before in the Netherlands. They
did?
Yep, they took down all the statues, they smashed the stained glass, they burned a lot of the churches down, and then they let this, I think it was either the state or like the state distribute proto-socialism in the Netherlands. You know, the whole Dutch revolt and all that stuff. That was the first essential, like, I think that was the first communism, is the Netherlands. And then London picked up parts of that in their ideology, but turned it more into a mercantilist global empire. And then Marx, who was actually, Liège is right to the south of the Netherlands. Marx got his ideology from a synthesis of Christianity and communism, Calvinism.
He was the first NEET as well.
Yeah, in a way. But he actually, the way that Marx kept himself is not unusual for people like Miyamoto Musashi also never bathed. There are a lot of other people who never bathed. Yeah, there are a lot of people who never bathed who had very unique, special sort. And I can actually see what they did is they tuned their body a specific way. Now, Marx probably stunk. He probably didn't tune his body properly at all. But a lot of these people, they tune their body a certain way, and the breath doesn't stink, their teeth don't rot, their body is good. I've done that before. It's very, very hard. You have to eat properly. You have to think properly. You have to be in the right environment. There's a whole lot of stuff. And like when
The main thing was
everything
getting rid
painful-
of the sweat and things off your body, wouldn't it?
Actually, sweat is good. You just can't let it. Sweat is good for you. You just can't. It has to evaporate off your body. You can't let it rancify. You can't let it get rancid, because that will
Like under
grow
your armpits
flesh-eating.
or...
That'll grow flesh-eating bacteria. And yeah, on your armpits, that's hormones that indicate that you're tired, you're stressed out, you're fearful. It's a fight or flight hormones coming in. It warns your mom you need help. It warns your enemies to stay away. You know, that is cortisol spiking, and when you have all the lights as they are, and you have all the sound as it is, and you have society as aggressive as it is, that's a mechanism to cause everybody to have their cortisol spiked all the time. But Japan had a lot of people like this, and that's why I bring up Miyamoto Musashi, is that you can tune yourself to the point where you are living to 120 on bare minimum. You eat right, you think right, and you live right. It's as simple as that.
Do you think that's like nuts and berries, or like is it a vegan sort of diet, or does it include meat or bread and things like that?
It's hard to say. It really is hard to say, because a lot of the people who say to get to this point will say that no, you actually have to avoid meat, but I think that butter is actually better for us. If you're Indo-European, if you have lactose tolerance, which is a very rare gene, lactase persistase, everybody tolerates lactose when they're younger, but a lot of people can't tolerate lactose when they're older. If you have lactase persistase, milk and cheese and butter actually creates like a sort of a Conan the Barbarian instead of just a Miyamoto Musashi. It's actually better. It's actually the capstone of all of human achievement, in my opinion. And it's not technology. This is one thing I don't like about the ancient alien stuff. It's not fucking technology. Technology doesn't do this. It's all us. The will. The true will. That's where it comes from.
It's basically getting back to basics, isn't it? I mean, eating the sort of things we're supposed to eat rather than all this processed shit.
Yes. And you know what? The people that live the longest and have the most independence in their society, they eat a lot of root vegetables and tubers, like beets and sweet potatoes. And the ones that end up being the most enslaved eat a bunch of high-yield cereals like grains and rice and stuff like that. That's why I never really like the wheat field memes. It's just like, that's not really what you're going to gravitate towards if you want to be strong.
And stay away from the corn syrups.
Oh yeah. Well, corn by itself is real good. Like, we got a lot of corn-fed, strong Americans that ended up like 6'6", like burly, barrel-chested. Unfortunately, a lot of them ended up like shredded-ass teeth because of the way the corn is. But hey, it is what it is. If you can cook it right, and in fact, the indigenous Americans in Mesoamerica, they figured out that when you cook the corn, it releases amino acids that you don't normally get, and it will prevent you from having anemia.
Yeah. Well, at least today we always cook the corn, at least.
Yep. The corn naturally has been GMO'd to hell. Bill Gates is probably one of the most evil motherfuckers, and he's not even Jewish. He's just an evil motherfucker, and he worships technology. And technology is honestly like the thing that you can't give people billions of dollars. You can't create cloud systems that will make up for. You're not forging your own metal. You're not, building brick and mortar stuff. As we go back to the earlier part of the stream, plastic, it breaks down into a million pieces almost immediately. But it's still good for outpacing the pound sterling class carriers that England has.
Yeah, well, the plastic lasts like thousands of years, doesn't it? So there's all these microplastics in the atmosphere that we're breathing in, and part of our bodies now, I suppose. At this point, I don't think there's any going back. How do we fix the plastic problem?
Nature has a really good way of dealing with it. It really, really does. There's a lot of funguses out there that break down plastic. The problem is nanoplastic. It gets in our brain. Microplastics, in general, every cell in your body breaks down after 7 years and is regenerated. You have not a single cell in your body that you had when you were born. And this is, just a fact of life. In many, many ways, we are not our bodies. They're vehicles. And maintenance is important. Eventually it will run out. You have to be ready for that moment, because nobody can live forever with the body as they are now. That's the Jewish fantasy. It's not going to happen. The fantasy of Neuralink, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Neuralink's horrifying. I haven't really heard anything about that lately. Have you heard anything? Because they were talking about they were already installing it in people, and then I haven't heard anything since. Are those people still alive?
Personally, I think Elon has started to gravitate more away from that. I think he's actually become more of a spiritual person in recent years.
I don't know, has he?
I think so.
Is it after he had to visit Auschwitz with Ben Shapiro and a rabbi?
No, actually, in the last couple, 3 or 4 months ago, he said he believes in the teachings of Jesus Christ, which is more substantial to say than Christ is king, because you can say Christ is king and then discard the thought as, oh, Christ is just one king to be killed by the York killing of the king ritual. No, Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and will last forever. And that is just how it is. All the saints will last forever. Because they orientated themselves towards that universal truth that you cannot get rid of, no matter how many lies you cover it over with, no matter how many trash you dump on the area. You can't get rid of it. And this is why I have to say, this is the spear of Michael the Archangel that really does pierce the heart of the devil. You have to orientate yourself towards truth 100% of the time. Sin means to miss the mark. So you can get 99.999999999, and it still isn't good enough. They'll still abandon your front lines. But if everybody truly, genuinely, and this is what you see in Iran, has a monotheistic conceptualization, they're pretty dang close. They're not perfect, but they're close enough that they will absolutely beat the shit out of any sort of kiked up Zog crap that enters their borders, and they already have.
Well, it's still a numbers game, though. I mean, you could have the best Christian warrior the world's ever seen, but if they have to take on 100 million Indian SARS, are they going to be able to come out on top?
Well, think about the White Death.
Sink into the shit.
Think about the Finnish sniper, the White Death. He killed 1,000 Soviets.
Yeah, he was pretty pro.
But that's one guy. So yeah, no, actually, there's a reason why Europe has dominated the world. We do have the ability, if we tell the truth, through Christendom, which helps orientate people's minds collectively towards the truth. Building people together, all flawed as we might be, we support each other like bricks.
But, well, that's the thing, they say that it's only the tribes of Europe that care about truth and honesty, and that the other tribes of the world don't care about that.
So it's all Indo-Europe's. In Iran, the land of the Aryans is an Indo-European culture. They're Indo-Iranian. They're one of us, and that's why you see a lot of people over there with blue eyes, green eyes, blonde hair, red hair. You know, that's a mutation that we specifically had.
Anywhere around the the Mediterranean, or up in North Africa, or places like Morocco, right? There's a lot of similarities to...
Morocco, not so much. Morocco came from the Almoravids from Mali. You know, King Mansa Muna.
Yeah.
Not so much. Morocco is Zog to hell. Morocco is awful. That star on their flag is literally satanic.
The star? I'll have to look it up.
It's just a 5-pointed star.
Star of Morocco. Hopefully the typing's not that. Oh yeah. It sounds like it doesn't look something that I would want to have on my flag if I lived in Morocco.
Their old flag was much better. Did you know Muslims took over half of Italy once?
Well, they took over pretty much all of Spain, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. The Andalusian Caliphate, but they also had the Emirate of Sicily took over half of Italy, and then the Knights de Hauteville from Normandy, they took that back over with just 5,000 knights. You know, you think about the Knights of Rhodes. If you think about that, you have no idea how amplified our people can be, and almost every single one of them has been Christian. They're either Christian or they had this proto-Christian Druidic, where they were paying attention to nature. They were looking at reality, and that's what the Germans, they had this conceptualization of fire, not to worship, but to use as a tool. It's a good servant, but a bad master. And ultimately, the truth is the ultimate master.
So you wouldn't say things that we call pagan is necessarily bad?
There's levels.
Tied into Christian?
I'll explain it real quick. There is low paganism, there's high paganism, there's low monotheism, and then there's high monotheism. And most religions these days are low monotheism, and some of them have reverted back to high paganism, where you worship your elders, and it's ancestor worship, and I hate to say this, but this is true. When people say, meat will make you strong. If you eat muscle, you'll gain muscle. That's animism. That's going into the desert and killing a lion and eating its heart and saying, I am now strong like lion. That's low paganism. That's Africa Ooga Booga stuff. And we got that. We got that here in America. Jordan Peterson fell
And-
for it because he's so stupid.
Yeah. And I guess something like Midsummer, or however they pronounce it, would be like a higher form of paganism.
Yeah, much higher. In fact, like whole Midsummer's Night's Dream is almost low monotheist, like where it goes. So the Greeks were really close to hitting monotheism because they were the first people to come up with Zeus as a all father that sits on a throne in heaven. You know, so you're seeing kind of how it's coming together. And you know, technically the Vatican was named after the Vaticanos, which are their three forms of Indo-European/European pagan priests. There is the bards and the poets, there's the seers and the druids, and then there is the high priests of the Vaticanos, which sit up on a hill and prophesy down. And that is where the term Vatican came from. It's all interconnected. And that's why I like, yeah, the Tartarian thing is very interesting. But no, like you're actually denigrating our people if you think it was technology that did it. Yes, it was technology to a point, but it was also like health and mental clarity and like being able to read the weather through patterns, through not only animal patterns but like cloud patterns, being able to read the weather, being able to predict droughts and blizzards and thunderstorms, predict all this and to play ahead. That's prophecy. That's when you're a prophet, you have an individual mindset of high monotheism in your mind. You have figured out all that the universe is aligned off of zillions and zillions of truths. And like the more truth that you conceptualize, the more you can kind of see the golden threads of other truth. And when you eventually get it all together, it's like a golden light is behind your head. I felt it before. It's very cool. But guess what? It can be taken away from you. So we got to build a society that nurtures prophecy. I think it was Jesus or somebody who said that you killed all your prophets. Maybe it was one of the apostles, but they killed all their prophets.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Is there's nothing in Globo Homo. There's no culture. There's no faith. There's no mythology. There's no history. It's just consume the latest slop that comes out. Go to work. Do your cagey job. Come back. Consume some more slop. What's the latest shitty Netflix show?
What's the latest Marvel movie? I need to see that. It's so bad.
The shitty Mario movie. I'm glad, to be honest, I'm glad it's shit. I hope it's as shit as possible. I hope they shit all over the lore, such as whatever Mario lore is.
They made Princess Peach, who looks a lot like a girl that I dated once. So 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 woman. They made her look like Erica Kirk.
Seriously?
Yeah, she's got a square-ass face now.
She's got creepy eyes.
No, I don't know if they're gonna go that far.
Your hands, make your hair stand on it. Apparently Rosalina's been cut and thrown aside for Princess Peach and all this shit, but I hope so. I hope the law at this point, like anyone that still buys the slop, I hope it's as bad as possible.
Rosalina was almost impossible for like a real woman to recreate. She was almost like too perfect.
Who? Because was it I forgot her name. Who's that woman that? Was the woke icon that the Quartering hates? That she voiced, was it Peach or Rosalina in this movie?
Was it Daisy? Is Daisy a woke icon?
Was it Daisy? Is it?
Are they saying Daisy is trans?
I wish I remember her name, but the lady that was Captain Marvel, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I know nothing about her. And my dad is a
I can't remember her name.
My dad is a comic book guy.
She voiced one of the characters.
If she was real, I would know about her. She's not real. She's not a real thing. She's a completely manufactured simulacra up on the top of what is actually Marvel DC / Black Horse, I think it's called. Dark Horse. Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Dark Horse comics.
You mean Captain Marvel's is manufactured, or the actress?
The female version of Captain Marvel is manufactured, and I don't believe I've ever seen any thing that leads me to believe that there's a male version of Captain Marvel either.
Yeah, I think they invented it, didn't they? They created it for the movies or something.
It's probably recent,
There's also that. Yeah, because there's also that. I can't remember what the name was, but there's that Muslim lady they also created in the last few years that they put in movies and games.
The
and things.
Jewish people that made those comics originally would have never.
Stan Lee would have
No,
never done.
those characters do exist in the comics, but they exist in the recent comics. They don't exist in the historical ones.
Yes.
You're talking about like the
So-
Squirrel Girl era.
Yeah. So they have made a female Captain Marvel in the most recent comics, but I think the writers did that specifically just so they could put her in a movie. So it's kind of become like this really like terrible Ouroboros of just like self-eating itself.
They've got to make a black Spider-Man so they can have a Spider-Man game with a black Spider-Man. Miles
Did they make a
Morales.
trans
There-
Spider-Man
yeah.
too? Or is that just a rumor that the internet's saying?
I remember
I would believe
seeing
it.
clips of it. I think I don't remember which. I think it's Spider-Man 2 for PS5. But like Miles Morales, like revives Peter Parker, and it's almost like a Jesus reviving Lazarus moment.
Hmm.
It's really terrible.
We need Judas.
And
Judas is a
our-
Spider-Man expert.
I remember like when the game first launched because like it had incredible bugs in it. Like you could clip through the floor, and there was like a water table underneath the floor for like the shore. So the coders of the game just put water underneath the entire map, so you could just clip through the ground and like fall into the water and just be stuck there. And they patched it after the first day, but like it was just kind of like indicative of Insomniac is not perfect, and they're capable of like Bethesda level bugs if they don't do like a final bug sweep. Because that was like something like Sony ponies would always like retreat to. Is like, our games never have bugs. Like Xbox games is like, well, no, now you do. It's I don't know.
I've still never played Bloodborne, and I still really want to, but I've never played Elden Ring. Not a second of it.
I wouldn't bother.
I've never gotten into them.
I played thousands of hours of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 more than Dark Souls. And then Dark Souls 3
Yeah, but-
probably like 400 to 500 hours.
But there's actual level design in those games. It's not a shitty modern open world. We just go through the same copy-pasted dungeon over and over again and fight the same bosses over and over again and waste time collecting items you don't need. The usual design, the time-wasting telemetry design of it all.
I liked it when Dark Souls had the weapons, they carried weight. Real weight. Bloodborne never had any real weight to its weapons.
Yeah, that was the whole reason I liked the Souls games, is that I like things to be slow and weighty and do a lot of damage. But
Makes
then
it
over
feel-
time, it just got faster and faster, yeah.
Yeah, especially in Dark Souls 3. Yeah, it's the same system where everything is just skipping around, and it's just like the weight of the weapon shouldn't be able to physically move that fast, and when it does, it actually kind of takes away in your mind how powerful it should be, and it just dilutes it down to like numbers instead of real physical weight.
It does. It sucks. And then you have all the usual beat 'em up tropes where the bosses have all these combos they do, and while they do it, they're invincible. So you just gotta wait for them to do the 10-second combos so you can do one whack again. Whereas the older games, it was a lot more basic. They just do one or two different attacks, and you just gotta learn how to deal with that.
I
and
will
dodge
say
and
I
attack at the right time.
love the bosses in Dark Souls 3. I think they're really fun. And in Dark Souls 2, you can actually repeat the boss over and over and over again with a fire aesthetic if you'd like. And that's always an interesting strat when you face the Rotten 5 times, get enough souls to shortcut all the way to the end boss, and then beat the game in like an hour.
Wait, you can fight the bosses again. They don't die.
You can fight them again in New Game Plus, New Game Plus Plus, in one particular slot, using a bonfire aesthetic in Dark Souls 2.
Okay.
But if you come back through your next in your New Game Plus run through, then that particular area will be like New Game Plus 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 Plus, which caps out at like 7.
Oh, okay. There's replayability about it.
I love Dark Souls. And George R.R. Martin, I do not like, so that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really. I might do a stream with that one day if people are interested.
If fuck a song of Fire and Ice is shit.
Yep. I mean, the way that he depicted European culture in his Game of Thrones is so insulting. It's so
It
genuinely
is.
insulting.
I tried to read the book at some point. It's like 30 different sex scenes, and there's
And
no
it's like a
story
lot of
whatsoever.
incest and betrayal, and he's just like nobody's telling the truth, and everybody's fucking their cousin, and it's just like, this is kind of a bit of microcosm of European culture, but this is not indicative of the whole at all. And it makes it paints it as if it is.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense why they turned it into this big TV series. This sort of thing, sort of normie slop that always does well.
I mean, the Jews loved it. Ben Shapiro said it was his favorite show.
He did?
Yeah.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, they love that mockery of European culture. So I could tell from the very beginning that even without watching it, a bit of it, it was not good.
Well, is George Martin a member of the tribe?
From the looks of it, he actually put in a subtle reference to merchants, happy merchants in Elden Ring. So he might have actually come along a little bit.
That's right. He did write Elden Ring. It's just such a waste of time because they already obviously knew how to write in the style that they write in Dark Souls games. Like, it's just marquee value to say that they've got him writing the story.
If you don't mind, can I take a break real quick? Y'all guys have something to talk about in the meanwhile?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think
So you're
Elden Ring,
you're
the only thing he contributed was the ring concept, what I heard.
Yeah, I thought the story was really lame. Really, it's just your generic MacGuffin type of story. Like with the Dark Souls games, I mean, I guess the story is pretty MacGuffin-y too. But I really like the whole idea of the there's supposed to be the next age coming, but you're delaying the age coming by reigniting the bonfire or whatever it's called. And ringing the bells of awakening, and they keep doing that, so it fucks up the whole world because it's supposed to have gone to the next age already. But Gwyn doesn't want that to happen. Whereas Elden Ring is like you've got an alien tree or something, and then it gives, I think it gives a ring to people, and then they destroy the ring, don't they? And then all the people that are guarding the tree fight each other or some shit. Did you play Elden Ring?
No.
Oh yeah. I only played it last year because I was never all that interested, but it was on sale. But I guess you're a PlayStation person. Are you playing Spider-Man and things like that?
No, I don't really know how to exactly explain my relationship with video games anymore. I think I just equally hate every single company and every single developer. And I hate the video game industry, and I'm kind of hopeful for a video game crash. That's kind of where I'm sitting at.
Well, I will always love Miyazaki for giving us like a whole generation, an entire generation of beautiful games. And it's interesting, in the original Dark Souls story, those two serpents that you face, Kath and Frampt, those are supposed to be a reference to Germanic Anglo-Saxon lore, pagan religion, that those are the two serpents that gnaw at the base of the world tree. And then you see the world tree and all these other trees, like when you get to the Hydra land with the ancient dragon and stuff behind and it's like in a secret area that almost nobody would know about unless they, heard from another person.
It's underground, isn't it? You see the arch tree trunks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the craziest thing is, I think, isn't the lore that all the mountains were the stumps or the arch trees are destroyed and they turn to stone? Because I think wood and stone are sort of the same thing or something, like the wood turns to stone.
Apparently it's based on the kiln where you go and you fight the witch. What did she turn into? It's a horrible boss. One of the worst bosses in the entire game. But apparently, way down at the bottom there, that's a gigantic kiln. That's a kiln at the base of the world tree too.
You mean the spider lady, Quelaag or whatever?
Quelaag. No, it's in the general area, but it's like farther down. It's in the Demon Ruins, and it's one of the 4 Great Souls that you have to collect. It's that big, freaky tentacle fire thing that you slide down into.
Oh, is that the tree you mean?
Yes. So it's
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to be like the chaos kiln is supposedly like animating parts of the world tree and causing it to like, come to life.
Yeah, apparently because the witches cast some sort of spell to reignite the bonfire, but it went wrong and created demons.
The lore is pretty loose, but like eventually comes along to this really grand story. Whereas in 2, it's just like it's just no fucking story at all.
It doesn't really seem to. I mean, there's a lot of sequels, like second games that seem to do that, but it doesn't seem to have much to do with the main story at all, does it? You got Dark Souls 3 is a direct follow up to 1, and then 2 is this random other land that's in this dream world, I guess.
The real story
I
of
don't
2
know.
is the fact that the entire game looked different originally. It wouldn't run on the hardware that they needed it to run on, so they had to reconstruct the entire game, pick it apart, and put it back together. That's the real lore.
But weren't they just using the engine of Dark Souls 1? You'd think it would run fine if Dark Souls 1 run fine.
It almost feels like it's a different engine. The engine feels different in 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
It's supposed to be all Havoc engines, but like they might have tweaked it a bit. I don't know. It was B Team, so there's A Team and B Team, and A Team made Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls, and Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne 2. I'm pretty sure. And B Team was partly involved in Bloodborne, and then they worked on Dark Souls 2, and they basically made the entirety of Dark Souls 2. And it's my favorite. It has the most love and passion and like so much little stuff all over the world that you wouldn't like these little Dark Souls secrets. Like in 1, there's like the vagrants, those little crab things that almost nobody ever sees. The secrets all throughout the world, and then Easter
eggs. You got the
like
Rat King that guards the underworld, and the Royal Rat Authority. You got the other little rat guy you can join this covenant. And
yeah,
the only people, I mean, the only reason people say it's shit is because of that faggot Mauler, really, isn't it? Because he made that series on Dark Souls 2 is terrible to attack H Bomber Guy's videos on it.
Well, I wasn't even watching YouTube that much back then. I was biking around and being like a ladies'
healthy?
Man. Yeah,
ladies' man.
Yeah, my hair was like all poofy. There's old pictures of me with my hair like that. It was all poofy because I would bike around all the time. And like I was a real ladies' man. I was a real Casanova back then.
Yeah, you had your hair really long, didn't you?
I mean, it's much longer now. But there was a point where it was like, I went to a salonist and stuff like that, and I got it specifically in more of a Justin Bieber poof. Then it turned into like a huge lion's mane.
You should have gone for the Fabio look. Maybe his last name. Fabio? Is it Fabio?
Yeah. Right now I got my hair pretty long. It's down to my chest.
Jeez. That must take a lot of shampoo.
Yeah. But it's technique. Technique is more important than... That's what I say about technology. Technique is more important than technology. So it's not about what you got, it's about how you use it. It's about the motion of the ocean, not the size of the boat. And so if you have the ability to see which part of the ocean you should be in at what time, then you can go to Thule.
So it's not about having an Apple Watch and just listening to what it tells you to do, and it monitors your heartbeat.
You notice those people are the weakest people?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that's something that you take away from this, is that it is truly, as Hitler said, it is the will.
But no one has a will anymore. That's the problem.
That's how Zog works.
It is. It's the demoralization tactic.
Mm-hmm.
But being that you're with the Christian model, I know this is a bit crazy, but I was just looking into this lately just because I like looking into this sort of thing. Do you think there's anything to the Christian flat Earth model?
Is there a Christian flat Earth model? Because I remember the first person to think that the Earth was round was actually Christian. And,
there's
but in the early days, I think
there's mentions in the Old Testament about the Earth being like a platter suspended on the four corners of the Earth. People have taken that to extrapolate that the Bible says that the Earth is flat. But
and the other thing too is the
only way that theory stands is people are taking the Bible quite literally, and they're extrapolating beyond that.
That's sola scriptura. It says you must take the Bible literally, and it's just like, well, which one? Because the Duo Reams is actually the most accurate translation from the Latin. But if you don't like Latin and you don't trust anybody in Rome, then there might be an issue in the specific sort of translation. And then some people end up with the Schofield Bible. That's where Christian Zionism came from. This is like a 90-year-old invention where they turn Christianity into a Zog machine.
What do they sneak little... Sorry?
That's like Cruz.
I've met a flat earther before, and through talking to him, what I came to understand is his belief in flat earth. He feels it's necessary because he believes it needs to be true so he can believe the Bible's true. So he obstinately believes that the earth is flat because he's heard that about the Bible, and he thinks that for this to be true, like, I have to believe that NASA is all the time like doing like theatrics to make it look like things are floating, and every SpaceX launch is fake, and I don't know. I even like tried to explain to him like kind of like how the Bible's written in allegory, especially like books like Revelations, and for some of these things, like maybe like in the spiritual realm, like when it describes like the angels like having 6 wings and being like concentric rings, like dotted with eyes floating inside each other, like
that's opening.
Yeah, it might be like real there, but like we're in like the real realm or like the physical plane where I don't think things are quite that literal.
Well,
I never really got anywhere in the conversation with him where he was willing to budge on his belief on it.
Well, a lot of the Old Testament is low monotheism. It's a monotheism that believes that there are multiple gods and they're fighting for dominance, and that the God of the Hebrew people through David and Isaac and Jacob and Jesus, that's a low monotheistic conceptualization of Christian Zionism, won over the other gods in the world. That's not true monotheism or high monotheism. High monotheism, and sometimes low monotheism, can actually be lower than high paganism depending on how it's done, which is something that I will agree with the Odinists on. Sometimes it can be that way. Sometimes it do be that way, Mr. Stancil. But high monotheism, the logic of the prophets, Christ consciousness, divine logic is 100% true 100% of the time. It really, really is. And it's like some druids had 100%. You know, they legitimately and that's one of the reasons why when the Celts converted to Christianity, they converted en masse peacefully. There was hardly any bloodshed after the tale of Saint Patrick. Like this is well documented in the monasteries in the areas that the martyrdoms didn't actually come until the Viking mercenaries washed up on the shores. In order to, it was a colonization of not the German people, but the Judeo-Germanic thought that was trying to win out over the Ibero-Romance R1B monotheism that essentially got closer to Christ than the Arianism, A-R-I-A-N-ism, that was fighting between Saint Athanasius of Antioch and Byzantium, and they were fighting, and he ended up being welcomed back in to the faith after he was like killed in the wilderness and stuff. But he was like an early martyr for high monotheism against low monotheism, which is Jewish thought. And in the Old Testament, it's scattered, filled with lies and BS that atheists point to and be like, that's your religion? Numbers 5, where it says that a woman who cheats on her husband has to drink bitter water, which contains the ashes from the floor of the tabernacle and a scroll of curses. And if her baby isn't destined to be born, then it dies. And if God says it is, then it lives. And it's just like, yes, the Jews are crazy. Like 10/12 of the Jews, like by the time Jesus has come, had completely and utterly turned back to their Canaanite Baal worshipping ways.
And do you think, like Mound Dweller on the farms likes to go on the bus, do you think that the Anglo is one of the lost tribes?
No. Every tribe is supposed to be a lost tribe until they come in, take your stuff, take over your country, and then you're a goyim all of a sudden. No, it's BS. BS. There is no
Yeah,
lost tribes.
I
All the
don't believe
tribes
either.
of Judah were destroyed. All of them. They were destroyed 2,000 years ago.
And then in their place, you have the Ashkenazis and the Hasidic Jews and things
Well,
that have come in to be the
Mostly
new
Mizrahi.
neo-Jew.
So there's two Talmuds, right? There's the Babylonian Talmud, and then there is the Jerusalemite Talmud. And the Philistines, they held on to relatively, some of them held on to their old beliefs, some of them joined to the Jerusalem Talmud. The Mizrahi, which went up through Iran, up into Russia, and created like Marxist communism, and then went into Germany and then Freudianism and all that, and went into Austria. You know what I'm saying? The Mizrahi picked up the Babylonian Talmud, which that's where you get a lot of the child sacrificing stuff. And if you actually talk to Jewish people, like from Chicago and stuff, they'll all be very fascinated with the Sumerian people, the Sumerian people, and their weird Babylonian script, which is just like, that was going to be like a Semitic super culture under the Achaemenid Persians and Cyrus the Great, but the Zoroastrians, who had a high monotheist, sometimes low monotheist, like medium monotheistic ideology, they were represented by the three wise men that came in and bled all of their wealth and ideology into Christ from the beginning of his birth, before he was born, to the end of his birth, and after he was dead. They stopped propagating their own religion like 400 years in, and like converted into Muslims, unfortunately. But that's closer than Jews. But true Christianity is actually closer to high monotheism. There are levels to this shit.
I don't know. I mean,
very...
I think that whether the whole like the white people or like the true Jews kind of theory is true or not, like the new covenant's kind of like does away with like the whole thing about Jews being like a ordained or like set aside people anymore.
Well, I can tell you exactly where that mindset comes from. I've never heard anybody say something like white people are the new Jews, because very specifically we're supposed to be Edom, which is one of the.
Well, that's part of the whole lost tribe theory, is that basically like Anglos were like the Galileans or something.
I know
That's
where
like
that comes
Jesus.
To answer both of you, I know where that comes from. Elizabeth I had a Kabbalist court vizier who told her this bullshit and this race science and this nonsense, and that gave her a divine right to conquer the entire world. And it backfired horrendously, because look at Britain now. I mean, Jews excel in race science.
I lean on the whole thing about the new covenant has done away with like the seed of Abraham having like some kind of like prominence or like importance beyond what they are. So like everybody is invited to be a child of God if you actually accept them.
Yes, I agree.
And so I in some ways I feel like, not to be like disparaging, I just feel like the argument just kind of like strays into like territory that it's not beneficial. Like I would more like rest on the fact that being Jewish, quote unquote, does not mean like you are God's chosen anymore.
That's what they say.
The whole story of the Old Testament is a story of continuously God like getting agitated with the Israelis for continuously like abandoning him, and he would like throw them into captivity, and then they would disobey again after he delivered them, and then he would let them be like consumed again, and finally like and it depends on, I do lean on the whole like because there's a verse, I can't remember where it's at, where it says that Christ was slain before the foundations of the earth. So Christ wasn't like a plan B, Christ was always plan A.
But I like my particular conceptualization of it, which is to say that, the Jews might say that they're the only people in the world because they think that the world is 7,000 years old, and then This person begat this person begat this person begat that person, and only their children are the only people that exist, and blah 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 blah. Everybody else is just golems or whatever, or golems or whatever. I think it's much better to conceptualize it as low paganism, high paganism, low monotheism, high monotheism. There were prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel. There were prophets that had high monotheistic thought, but they were also killed by their own tribe of high pagans. And then there were, at a certain point through David, low monotheistic Jews that had really come to a conclusion, like gone through the hero's journey. David went through the full hero's journey, which is also what Christ went through when he went all the way down to hell and heralded it, came back up all the way to heaven. That is the true hero's journey, which is to say that you were a king and then you deemed yourself absolutely worthless and it's all yours, God. I'm a unworthy, etc., etc. And then David ended up being exalted as the seed that begat Jesus. So it's not about your blood. It was never about your blood. It was never about blood. And even if you want to make it about blood, well, guess what? We're all drinking Jesus' blood these days. If you actually have a valid mass. So it's that there's the contract right there. You ain't got nothing special. If you got some converted in the last 400 years Ashkenazim blood, or some Sephardic blood, or some Mizrahi weird square-headed golem blood, or some London role player blood, none of that matters. None of that matters. What can you do? Iran doesn't care about what blood this person is. They're like 6 different cultures, like 6 distinct different cultures, and they're kicking the shit out of these globalist freaks. They really are. Like, I would not be surprised if Israel does not exist at the end of this year. I wouldn't be surprised.
And I think the whole thing about Israel being a state now, and the dispensationalist view of they're bringing scripture to pass, or they're fulfilling prophecy, I think that is really misguided, because I kind of rest on God's condemnation of Abram when he tried to fulfill God's prophecy by sleeping with his Sarah handservant Hagar, because God basically condemns him and says Ishmael's going to be like a thorn in your side. He's going to be like a wild donkey. And he's going to like kind of like feud with like your soon-to-be son Isaac, who's going to come like I promised you he would through Sarah. You try to fulfill my prophecy on your own, and you'll pay for it. And I kind of feel like
God will not be
part of the controversy you see with Israel and how they've basically been at war since they were founded in 1948 is you can't force prophecy. If
they literally
Israel was going to be reconstituted, it was going to happen naturally through God's like machinations. It wasn't going to happen through man doing it.
It's not an over-exaggeration to think that Israel has literally been at war since the founding, because they first started bombing the British that helped them and set them up. They booby-trapped their corpses after hanging them so that anybody who would try to give them a healthy burial, which is what humans do, they inhume their dead, would get blown up. Like, they're truly disgusting, evil people. And, like, the word Jew shouldn't actually enter your criticism of them, because that allows immense amount of other people to become a human shield for these evil freaks that should all be systematically exterminated.
Well, yeah, they made one of those terrorists leader of Israel, didn't they?
3 terrorists became the people that formed the IDF. 3 terrorists. Now, the original people, Golda Meir was an absolute evil monster, but there are also other leaders whose names, unfortunately, escape me, that were decent leaders that did say that things were going horribly, and if it wasn't stopped, it would end up like causing a massive conflagration in the entire area, which it did already. In fact, the fires are being put out by Iran when they're blowing up everything in the general area. ISIS has never been weaker, and they will continue to get weaker if, things continue to go this way. And it's wonderful because the people all around the world, they do not want to participate in this BS because Trump is so good at being hateable. And that's one of the reasons why we elected him, because he made people around the world lose faith and trust in the American empire, which was evil and was propagating evil shit all around the world. That's why we voted for him. I voted for him once, the last time, because I had an inclination he was either going to glorify God's mercy or glorify God's justice, and it turns out he's going to glorify God's justice. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, Cyclone. I just had that thought.
All right. No, that's really all I wanted to say on that.
Right on. Well, shoot. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Judas is coming along. That's shit.
Judas, no.
No, Judas. What do you know about
Typical Judas.
What do you know
Sorry?
about Judas, Forsaken Wanderer? Is he a good guy? He's a good guy, right?
I've only spoken to him once. But yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about him getting caught up in the same sort of like being dedicated to this horrible new chapter in QEve history, but I also feel like he himself would rather it go another way.
I mean, I hope so, but he does seem to like Josh a lot.
Yeah, he does.
I've seen him in the Maddie chat quite often, so he still watches Maddie.
He's actually a moderator. He's a moderator on the Kick chat.
Is he?
Yeah.
Shit. Oh, okay, so he's quite deep in it.
He does it for free. Clean it up, Jan.
Sweep it up, boy.
Oh shoot! Hey, do you have any opinion on the Gropers and Nick Fuentes? What do you think about all that? Do you think that's real?
No, they're definitely feds. I can't stand them.
Yes.
I mean, all the things that he's done, it has to be. It should be obvious to anyone at this point. But there's just so many things that disgust me about him. Like when he sent his groupers to the Capitol Hill and got them arrested, and then he just disavowed them and pretended they never existed.
Yeah.
Never once gave a shit about them. And the whole Catboy Cammy stuff, where he's going to rallies with this fucking Catboy. It's just insane. And recently sweeping up the Epstein stuff, like quartering and all these other people,
Not
like
only
Jim as well.
But trying to make it into a meme, into like a funny, cool thing, like Epstein was a Chad or something. That's
Buy the Epstein quarter zip.
That's bad. And then Newsom, pumping Newsom, and saying people should vote for Kamala Harris. Like,
Yeah, it's just insane.
I mean, I've been impressed by his rebranding and kind of like been able to kind of like reinvent himself over the last like year or two.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt if he can actually align himself against the enemy. But the problem is, it feels like he's been groomed before he was 18, and it's part of this whole corrupt shadow Catholicism that I was talking about earlier. It feels like he has been groomed for this position as a controlled opposition, and that most of the gropers are fake.
You can't have like a base leader or a base group form up, because it'll either be corrupted or everyone will be arrested or people will be killed. It never works.
Well, it's better if people come together and laugh. I think that's one of the best things that people can do when they come together online, and that's why I'm kind of gravitating more and more towards Pod Awful and Jesse. Like, there's some funny shit over there. I haven't actually watched it yet.
That's some big words right there.
Yeah, when you haven't watched Pod Awful yet?
No, I haven't. I'm only in the peripheries of... You see, I don't really spend my time on anything that takes longer than like 20, 30 minutes. I'm constantly hopping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And like I try to like connect things. Like my brain works in this broad, huge thing that likes to think of like 10,000 years of history and stuff like that. It's hard for me to sit and watch one movie.
Vehemently hate Pod Awful.
I think so.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Especially after you had that girl on that he loves. I forget what her name is. That crazy BBD girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Pod Awful's always been interesting. Emily Eustace.
Oh, Eustace, yeah. Alfred. I love her. She's wonderful.
I think he actually specifically got her to like say something to Noel about how he got her on his show, and Noel had never got her on his show. I mean, so it was kind of funny.
Those two could have been an item if Noel had done the right thing. I wouldn't wish for Emily to have a weak husband, but if he had risen to the occasion, he could have had his based Aryan Nazi princess. He could have.
I don't. I don't know. I lean to the idea that I don't think Noel can like maintain a relationship because well, like I made a
They,
comment the other day, and I think specifically to like under something Clyde said because I think it turned out that like some other person that Noel liked had like said something about him or something, and like I just like made a comment like, oh, you mean that guy that hosts a show where he like gives dating advice even though he has no dating experience whatsoever?
Is that no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
he pretends to be a feminist, but like,
his only dating experience is that one time that Asian chick at his like job at like Whataburger in Texas or whatever
Whataburger.
was was
No, that's in
going to
Destin.
like okay. I don't know. It's just he tells that story so vividly like this is your only experience with a woman, isn't it? This is it. This is the pinnacle for you. The only time you actually got close enough to a woman to actually smell her and like you never actually like lived together with a woman. You don't never like regularly dated one. Like
I believe that he's had
I
sex before, and I 100% believe his story that like he just couldn't get into it. Because
could he get into sex?
yeah, because he did love the woman. I get that. I understand that perfectly.
Not because he's got a broke dick.
Nope, nope. I really don't think he has a broke dick. I think he probably has a perfectly
he said
normal
it
penis.
himself though.
And honestly, man, I don't want any white person to think that they can't breed or that they're insignificant or inadequate because that is exactly how the I don't even know if it's true or if it's the enemy's logic, but I'm not going to allow the enemy's logic to win either way. So Null could have. I wanted him to be successful. I tried to nurture the best parts of him for many years, and he stabbed me in the back and lied about me and like burned me very badly,
As he does to everyone.
as he does, and that's a problem.
He's
I mean,
Jewish.
his story that it only exists in like screenshots in the general chat from years ago where he was talking about that he literally like can't like consummate. He can't finish. And
That's it. That's
it
just
always
because
like
he didn't love the girl. He couldn't get into it enough to finish. No, I get that.
it always sounded to me like he's like one of those people like got like one of those like bot circumcisions where like just killed his nerve endings, so like he literally can't
That isn't the
get enough
logic of the
feeling
enemy.
to like
That's the
finish.
technique of the
Could
enemy.
be.
Oh
Could be.
God, we got to get rid of that. We got to stop that. We really have to stop that as a society because that does happen. That's where the first
There's only one
transgenderism
reason
stuff
that
came
we.
from.
Yeah, well, there's only one reason why there's still circumcision in the West.
What?
Only one group that
You
there
got
was.
sure you Jeez, all real. That sounded. I mean, maybe that would make sense if you're like a 2-year-old, but shit, that doesn't make any sense to an adult who can think about it. It's just like, well, clean yourself. Clean your
What?
penis. I can't do Jordan Peterson. It's hard. You gotta have a dry throat to do Jordan Peterson. He's one of the
You
driest,
sound like you're about to cry.
most sauceless men of all time. Yes.
This is.
Yeah, you gotta go full Kermit mode to do your Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Somebody who does a really good Jordan Peterson as well as another like 30, 40 really good impressions is Sam Hyde's best friend, Nick Rochefort. I love Scuff Realtor. Scuff Realtor is one of the best shows on the internet, period. It's wonderful. I love it. And you'll learn a lot too. But it's so funny.
I've seen I've seen a couple of streams of it in the past.
It's really good.
Why?
Carlito McCheese? I think it's Carlito McCheese. He's got a really good Scuff Realtor clip channel. Maybe I'll share a link or something and you can check that out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I like that. I like that sort of McMansion stuff, like when people have those shitty McMansions that are hideous and
tear into them. Merciless. No mercy. Absolutely ruthless. True obliteration. Hexeth wouldn't know anything about it.
But the only thing about Sam Hyde, I don't know, it's a bit autistic, but why he's always sounds like he's got a cold, doesn't he? Like he's always got like a very, he's always sniffly, and he's always got like a very wet mouth and everything like that. But
his Jewish blood is revolting against him in the inside, and he refuses to accept its revolution.
It could well be the case.
He's an interesting.
Do you
person.
think do you think it's true, like the whole thing? I forget her name, but the girl that he supposedly.
No. Absolutely not.
And what about the whole thing where he released that comedy video where he's making the jokes that sound very similar to the things he was accused of, and I think it was like
Where he said like
a week or
anus at Ross.
Yeah, that
one. That's an interesting comparison, but it quite literally that's so far away from each other. The two things that they're trying to compare are very far away from each other. And though that might be true, though at that age, as men do when they don't have a good orientation and inclination towards chastity, yeah. But like, was he grooming underage girls? There is absolutely no reason to believe that Sam is such a loser that he would need to do that. That just girls would probably naturally gravitate towards his 6'5" ass.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. Like if you don't know, if you're 6'5", women are automatically attracted to you. You're playing dating on easy mode, but you're playing back pain on hard mode. Yeah. No, it's no joke. No. Yeah. People live to much shorter ages when they're that tall.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be
your
short.
heart, like if you're like 6'7", your heart starts having problems because it has to pump.
So you're saying it's like large dogs?
It's something like 6 foot was like a good, perfect, like cap. Especially the Celtic people were mostly 6 foot when they were at their peak. 6 foot is a really, really good place. Me, I'm 5'10". I'm just enough to have a little bit of back problems, but not tall enough to get a bonus.
5'10". Shit, I'm like a hobbit. I'm only 5'4".
It's fine. You know, it's about the motion of the ocean, not the size of the boat. Just to repeat that point, it's a real point. My cello, like I'm his like protege, but like he was the first cello in high school. His name was Shorty, but he had all the ladies. Now, did he date ladies as smart, as in pretty and attractive and impressive than I did in the long run? No, but he was definitely a ladies' man. He was definitely a Casanova.
But they're probably all shorter than him, I take it.
No. Do not rule out the short kings, especially if they have talent, especially if they have musical talent. Do not rule out the short kings. Like even if Noel is like 5'2", he could still get as many girls as he wants, just like Ralph, who's like 5'3".
But that's because they have E fame. But even then, the E fame doesn't seem to work for Josh. It doesn't seem to pull in.
But look at Ralph. It's big dick energy, and women can detect that. They can smell desperation. They can smell it from a mile away.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, Josh doesn't have that aura to him, as people say. He doesn't have any aura farming.
He could. He just needs to have better practices in his life. He needs to be more austere instead of constantly indulging in his emotions. Ugh, that's not attractive.
He is very feminine.
It's not just about being, because you need to synthesize your animus and your anima, which is your female and your male interior self. You have to synthesize it in order to be a good father, because then you'll be a bad husband if you don't know your inner woman in a way. You know, for lack of better terms, this is the terms that Jung used. But like really, you do have to synthesize that portion. Now, physically, men will always have the superior upper body, and women will always have the superior lower body. And then men will have a weakness in their lower body, and women will have a weakness in their upper body. So together as a dyad, we actually complete each other, and there is no one without the other at the end of the day. And so the man has to look up, and the woman has to look down, and the child is in between the two. That's, you know, and a big problem with Noel is that he was raised by a single mother who was very liberal, who took him to gay pride parades when he was a little kid.
Oh yeah.
Big problem.
And you know, the result of that is on Blocklands forum saying he wants to be a woman and he wishes he could know what it's like to be a black woman in the ghetto and an Egyptian princess and the times of Egypt and the Egyptian dynasties and shit. Look, it's one thing. It's one thing to be a tranny, but why would you want to be a black woman in the ghetto? Why would you want to experience that?
In the ghetto.
Yeah. Like the way he wrote that too is like he was on the way home from work and just had to stop in the street and it hit him like this epiphany like I'll never get to be a black woman. I've never had that thought in my life. It's just so strange.
Oh, what a tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Holy shit, thank you for that. Oh my god.
Like how like just remind me, how old was he in the Blocklands days?
Gosh, I think it was like the general time frame, it seems to be around 12 to 14, which is a terrible part. Like, I was emo when I was that age. It's a terrible part in anybody's life.
Yeah, I was saying all sorts of crazy shit online as well, but
yeah, all of us would be embarrassed if we had our old stuff dredged out. That's why I prefer not to talk about it up to a certain point where it doesn't seem like he's learned in this entire time. Goodness.
No, or you could say that maybe he's this crazy third wave feminist because he wants to present himself as the opposite of the Blocklands, Josh, where he's talking about cutting up women and shooting them and things. Now he wants to say that they're
That's what people have been sniffing about third wave feminists for a long time, is that they end up being the most dangerous people.
Always male predators.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. There's the first and the second wave, and the first wave is like literally like women can drive cars better than they can ride horses, so society is changing. So we kind of have to accept this. Second wave is like excessive rights and stuff like that, which is like, okay, give them the right to vote, keep your society well educated. What could possibly go wrong? And then third wave is like women can do anything that men can do but better, and that men have no place in society because women can just replace them, and then men shouldn't be in the home because they're a bad influence on the children. That's third wave feminism, and that's probably where Noel gets it from. It's lived experience.
Yeah, and created a massive schism between men and women. And you also have this thing that just must be so awful for young men, where you've got one side which is like celibate monks and you can't think of women as attractive, and the other side which is the massive coomers that are all into the furry inflation porn and shit, and there's no in between. There's just these two extreme sides battling each other.
I don't know why Noel would think that he's missing out on the experience of being a black woman. He's living it. You better start believing it, bro. You're living it.
He's very good at speaking Ebonics.
Oh, I hate it when people call that African American vernacular English. Shut up! It's Ebonics. It's always going to be Ebonics.
It's the ghetto talk, street talk.
The ghetto. That is funny though. It really does seem like he's a third wave feminist, effeminate man who comes from a very broken single home. It seems like he already is living as a black woman.
I mean, he is really. He is.
And who ends up being the biggest Zog slaves? Well, from the looks of it, black women.
Black women.
They're the ones that are aborting the children the quickest. They're the ones serving in the secretariat positions where they get paid peanuts to work for Mr. Sneedowitz, you know.
Mr. Steinberg.
Mr. Steinberg.
All women are though. All women are sort of like that though. They're all about following authority and following what society says is correct, which is what is downstream from authority, and so they just always follow what the law of the land is. If the law of the land was you have to throw your sacrifice your firstborn, still they'd be doing that for sure, and they wouldn't think it was a bad thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, women will always be the most, this is 100% true, I'm sorry if you're a woman listening to this and this upsets you, it's true, you probably feel it. A woman will always be the most influenced by the last man that she had feelings for. It doesn't mean she dated. It could be her father, it could be her boss, it could be the mayor, it could be the governor, it could be the president. The woman will be the most influenced by the last man she had feelings for. And that tends to be what she gossips about too.
So you really got to hope it's not Gavin Newsom.
Well, he wants to institute a draft for Israel, but it's just like that's what he's saying to the Zog network to try to get them to pump him, but like that's never gonna happen. There is such a faulty mechanism to do any sort of draft these days.
I don't think it would work. Well, I hope it wouldn't work. I hope all
Not
men
here in
of European
America.
descent would say fuck that.
You have to take the guns away from your population by inducing a million school shootings and then taking the guns away from the population in order to have a draft. It's not going to work.
As they have done everywhere outside of America.
Yeah.
When they did that in 2019 in New Zealand, they took away what little guns there were.
The one thing that I worry about is what Hegseth is going to do when he says he's going to turn the military bases around the country into like weapons laundering areas. What the hell is going to happen? I can only hope that there's police officers and FBI agents that can, or just open source intel guys who are trying their best, which is what Kiwi Farms could have been before it was undermined, trying their best to make society a better place by outlining and detailing in archival the behaviors and patterns of certain people and how they can lead to societal disintegration, which is what Kiwi Farms in its highest, ethos, its highest aspects could be.
And now Kiwi Farms is at the point where, with the latest Epstein file drops, Reddit and Asmongold are more relevant and are finding more things in the files than the Kiwi Farms thread is, because Josh keeps banning people and deleting posts in there.
Asmon's gained a lot more respect for me than I expected him to, because he really does seem like he cares. He gives a shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's like this sort of typical sort of anti-woke controlled position, but he definitely seems a lot better than the majority of them.
It's funny. I think he deliberately hammed up how gross he was so that he can blend into like the VTuber, community, adjacent community. Whereas Medica doesn't have to worry about that because he's completely anonymous, right?
I don't know how you think, given that people know where he lives, you think someone would have caught a video or a photo of him by now in his wheelchair.
It's so weird how we still don't know what he looks like. There's one photo floating around, but without a second photo, it's impossible to tell.
Yeah, you mean the black and white one, like the inverted color one, or the one with the guy in the blue shirt that was like a DA, what's it called, a drunk driving charge?
Well, it might have been the second one that you're referring to, because I don't think it was without color. But yeah, I mean, we don't know.
From memory, he did release a well, he said it was a photo of himself wearing a hat, but it was that inverted color one, so you couldn't really see details. That was like potentially the only time we've ever seen him.
Which good OPSEC, that's impressive, Mr. O'Shaughnessy.
It is. I mean, it's crazy to be around that long and be and still be that unknown.
Well, then you seem to worry about, well, why is your OPSEC that good? Are you a pedophile?
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to tell, but I'm not going to levy that accusation against anybody for no reason.
Or he's a glowing, he's a Fed.
I think most of the feds are just like, they get a call one day and they're just like, hey, you want to collect $7,000? You want to take 30 shekels of silver for your position?
Yeah, it's very informative, probably, isn't it? Or informal, I mean. But whereas they probably just get a call and say, "Do you want to help us out or give us some information, and we'll pay you."
Yep.
And then before you know it, you're on there.
Informant/snitch comes from. Don't think that everybody that has involvement in the local law enforcement is a snitch. That's inversion of the term. That's a subversion of the term, actually. A real snitch and a real fed and a real rat, an informant, is somebody that will ingratiate themselves in certain groups, earn the trust of certain people, and then give everything to the feds. That is how a lot of businesses end up working too.
Well, that's why you can't really have any sort of based group form, because that always happens. You always have someone infiltrate, and then they dox everyone, and the whole thing gets shut down.
Which is why you just have to be not afraid of doxing. That's my opinion. Everybody should be say it with your chest, little nigga.
well, that's fine. It's probably fine in America. But if you're outside of America, you could be arrested for hate speech.
I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to lead the charge on this.
Yeah.
Everybody else must exercise the appropriate OPSEC.
America first.
Well, yeah, we'll just be first in line, which is not a being in the freaking front lines is not a enviable place to be, but we're gonna try, damn it.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna try to be the thing that our European ancestors have lost, which is an adventure and explore. I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer. I got hot blood running through me, and I'm coming.
The Faustian spirit.
Yes.
The painter, I forget what it's called, the man standing above the fog, you know the one I mean? The mist. He's on the cliff looking across the valley and it's all fog.
That guy with the cane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that picture. That's wonderful.
It is.
That's thus
it's
spoke
very-
Zarathustra, most often aligned. Which is a wild book, man. Nietzsche was really on one when he wrote that. And he's just saying, I love Iran! I feel you, Nietzsche. I feel you. I get it now. I didn't understand before, but now I get it.
Wasn't he dying through a lot of the time he was writing, or he was very sickly?
He
was
had
in bed all the
syphilis,
time?
unfortunately. These freaking Swiss bankers inflicted him with syphilis. But, like, I understand, like, thus spoke Zarathustra, Tel Aviv will be destroyed. Like, I get it. I love it, Nietzsche.
And there's also Oswald Spengler is another good one.
I haven't heard that name.
No,
I must
it's
look
not
that
one that
up.
gets talked about.
Oswald
like that.
Spengler?
And his book, The Decline, I think Spenger, I think. And in particular, his book, The Decline of the West.
Sping.
I may have spelled it slightly wrong.
Spengler.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, he's a polymath. Okay, so polymath is a wonderful word. It means master of basically everything. It's a step above jack of all trades, master of none, low monotheism. Polymath, high monotheism. Seriously, like, if this guy was a real polymath, then this guy is somebody to look into. I will look into this guy, thank you. I wonder why he's suppressed.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's always the thing. It's like that Soldier Instant, or however you say his name, the Russian guy's book, where you got Gulag Apelios. That's been published in the West, but then you got the other one where it names who it was that was behind the Bolshevism. That's I don't think it's ever been published in the West. It's been thoroughly swept up.
Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah, that's the one.
Because he wrote a book
Very
about
hard names.
being in a gulag and like seeing this like nasty Jew screwing everybody over and getting bullied.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why. So,
I mean, he was honest.
Why
He
is
can't
this
be
a-
honest.
no honesty allowed.
You got something to say, Zach?
No.
Okay. The Gulag Arpeggio is what Null called it.
Do not know how to pronounce archipelago?
he struggled with it, but honestly, I think he hammed up his mispronunciations. Whether they were intentionally original, he would continue saying it over and over again as kind of like a cutesy meme. Like water.
Like
And
Uva.
Erver, yeah.
The Overlord.
I mean, it is mimetic. It does stick in your head.
It sounds like someone from Fargo.
Fargo?
Canada.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got a fatwa out on me from Fargo Antifa. I'm not allowed to go back into Fargo because of Antifa.
How did you do that?
I met somebody in Fargo at an underground club that I brought a homeless woman into, and we all had a nice party, like not Diddy party, but regular party, like skanking and stuff like that. And I met him. We became friends.
Right.
And I tried to deconvert him from Antifa for like a year. And I think I got really, really close, and then his friends intervened, and they said that I'm not welcome in Fargo anymore, which is apparently like a whole fatwa, like my name is in a book somewhere, which is fine. I don't give a shit.
That sucks. You're so close to saving him.
Yeah, no, that's what sucks. That's what really sucks. We were not allowed to be friends after that. Yeah, that sucks. I agree.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, if he's young, hopefully he'll get out of it, or maybe has got out of it at this point as he gets older. But It really is a cult.
Yeah. And there's a lot of the black bloc stuff. Okay, so I had a friend, and he had MS, multiple sclerosis, and like he was beloved by my friend group, and I would like put him on my shoulders and carry him around like all over the place, like across the street and everything, like long distances. And we were very good friends, and eventually he fell into black bloc crowd, and then
What's Black Bloc?
black bloc is just the name of the attire that a lot of the Antifa people wear, but like he fell into this stuff, and then he eventually injected some acid into his testicles, and they exploded.
What?
Yeah.
Why would you do such a thing?
As a protestation about not being able to get the gender affirming care that you need. Yeah, it was a whole
So
thing.
he was wanting to true out?
He did. Yeah, and like
Well,
then was in immense pain, and
That's
then
fucked.
just
So he was
fell off the
already
map.
suffering, and then they brainwashed him into wanting to true out, and then he just messed himself up even more.
Yep. Fun fact: glyphosate gives you MS-like symptoms. It severs the connection between the spine and the brain.
And so what? Basically, you can't move your arms and legs.
You become very lethargic and anemic, and it also might make you have more proclivity towards being a transgender person. Which is just
Like
like
a
I actually
transgender nugget.
I've seen like how that goes down. So like not everybody does that because they want to be a predator in women's bathrooms. It's way more complicated, and it's way more heartbreaking than the Kiwi Farms is. Well, no. Actually, the Kiwi Farms had a very good conceptualization of what transgenderism really was and all the pain that back in the day.
Well, there is a detransition thread there now, and there's a lot of trannies on the farms. So,
Always has been.
but,
Always has been.
yeah, well, they always said, yeah.
All the way back to 2014.
Well, there's their mod, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Josh swears that the mod wasn't a tranny, but there's
I don't
a
know
lot of
about
evidence
that,
they
but
were.
I know that there used to be one that was.
Yeah, they're not around anymore.
Yeah, well, wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. People say that the farms was always left leaning, but it was. I mean, everyone was more libertarian and left leaning back in the early 2010s, and then over time, the Overton window shifted.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
actually
definitely
true
say
that the Overton
farms-
window has been actually moving towards the right over all of our country. We used to be like we invaded Afghanistan because we wanted their girls to go to school. Just recently, we bombed a girls' school and killed 165 girls. And like it's just power of moderation. Meanwhile, you got all these grifters saying, "Oh, the Overton window is moving to the left." No, it's fucking not. It's moving so far off the deep end to the right that it might as well horseshoe theory back to the left when it comes to like children being sacrificed to Moloch. But like at the end of the day, it's off the deep end. It really is.
But and that's the thing is I think that's why things feel so empty online because we're past the era of like the bread tubers and the sort of SJW left as they're called, and now there needs to be something new springing up, but it can't because it gets banned and censored everywhere across all platforms now, Kiwi Farms as well. So
Well,
you're left with nothing.
The woke right in the Kiwi Farms, on Twitter, all over the internet, that is actually a big thing where they say Judaism and Zionism is a protected class. The ideology of Zionism and Christian Zionism is a protected class, and they will destroy everybody that gets in the way of that.
PPP likes to keep saying now being a Zionist is the most hatest thing you can be now. The left and the right both hate the Jews. It's not fucking true.
No, please tell me he hasn't done that. No. Oh.
He says that quite often.
No.
I mean, it works for Gabe Hoffman, so I suppose it's not a surprise. But
I guess that comes when you merge your personality with the Kiwi Farms. Yeah. Damn, that one guy does a lot of fucking damage.
he does. I mean, he is very good at, I guess, creating mimetic things. He's like a lot of things he says becomes a meme, and other people say it. But
From what I
yeah,
see, he's got like no juice at all. Nobody likes him. Nobody pays attention to him. Nobody cares. But apparently, he has enough sway with enough people that he can do just a tremendous amount of damage. It's like the the person who funds the ISIS suicide bombers. You know, that's Gabe.
Well, yeah, there's proof of that.
Huh? Well, I probably, like, he needs to get the fuck away from Kiwi Farms. I don't give a shit, like, how responsible he is for fucking stuff up. He needs to get away, and then we'll see.
Don't get me wrong, like, I believe it. I believe that Gabe Hoffman's pulling all the strings and is working, you know, but, I mean, that's the thing, too. Like, I noticed that as soon as Netanyahu, or the clone of Netanyahu, if he's dead, or whatever, and Jonathan Greenblatt of ADL started saying they need to retake the internet and censor things, Gabe Hoffman renewed his efforts to censor the sector, and he started bragging on his removed Jew hate account about taking down all these different accounts. And I think he took down my account. And so he's definitely fully invested in the Jewish regime. And
well, he's the APAC handler of Null. He's Null's APAC handler, and apparently now he's PPP's APAC handler too, which is upsetting.
I don't get why no one can see the patterns that the farm started to go to hell once Josh Moon started talking to Gabe Hoffman, or saying he was talking to Gabe Hoffman, and there's also when he started appearing on Kino Casino and talking to PPP and Warski and things. Like, there's definitely a connection there, but no one wants to see it.
I feel like Warski is already there. Warski doesn't need any help. You know, he's already pro-abortion. He's already Griff City.
Yeah, Warski. Yeah. His brain's cooked as well. He can't remember anything past a day. He's fucked. Well, that's what happens when you're on crack.
Photographic memory. I remember stuff too well. I remember stuff so well that other people are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, this is exactly how this happened. And then...
Well, that's good to have.
Well, until your thoughts start assailing you in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Well, that sucks. But
it is what it is. It's something that people have had to deal with the entirety of human existence. That's the fruit of knowledge, and all the you see the demons.
It's better, yeah, exactly. It's better than not thinking.
What?
I
don't know. I like not thinking. I'm a big fan.
Once your mind is open, once your third eye is open, you can't go back, as they say.
Cyclone's been teaching me how to do a good Trump impression. You really gotta like put it up in the like the back and top of your throat and like. You
gotta go to a higher octave, folks, and you gotta really enunciate to the ridiculous degree.
It really helps if you put your hands like doing the gesticulation and everything.
If you want an inspiration, that only plays animation with Linkara and Trump. That's a very good impression of Trump.
I loved Ego Raptor when I was growing up. I absolutely adored Ego Raptor.
I did enjoy his animations and things, like the Newgrounds one. I like that. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, Sequelitis. Like it was only like 4 videos.
Oh my gosh! You just gave me like this ancestral memory that popped up.
Yeah. The ancient days of the internet, antediluvian days of the internet.
Yeah. Oh man, the Newgrounds times.
It was looking back though. A lot of it's cringe. Like, a lot of into.
Good time. I had a great time on Flash Revolution.
Yeah. I do miss when it was a lot more simple and everything didn't have to be dark and quote unquote political and all that. It was just people creating stuff for the sake of creating stuff. It was quite. It was a simple time. The
real white pill is that everything's fucked, but you really don't have to like beat yourself up about it.
But well, I mean, but if you can't bury your head in the sand though and pretend that things will be okay. I suppose.
Blue pill is just everything's fine. I'm an NPC. I don't think. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of the right MAGA, especially, has been reduced to. That 97% support MAGA, that has been reduced to blue-pilled NPCs, just straight up.
They are.
We're trying to red pill them, and they're just like, "You're a black pillar." Just like, no, bro, we're trying to help you up the ladder.
You'd have to be retarded to go to a MAGA event and then see all the Israeli flags and not think that something's awry.
Something's wrong. I like that new.
Something's so wrong.
And it has the little I think it is the Murdoch Trump, the little puppet Trump, and he's like going back and forth with the Israeli flag, like the Zelda bomb merchant guy.
Yeah, yeah. The king of the YouTube poop. The
Yes,
xylophone
yes.
merchant.
I think it has what Blue Kerbo would know. Who's that black guy that did all the beatboxing? But then he did the Hell of a Boss, or no, it was the Has-Been Hotel. That was a better one of it. He had
Was
the
that the
Has-Been
guy
Hotel.
that did the fuck, what's his name? The purple Marvel guy with the Infinity Gauntlet? Thanos. Is that the one that did the Thanos rap?
I'm not sure. I think it was the I can't remember. For the life of me, I can't remember. Ever since he destroyed all of his aura with that Charlie fanfic animation from Has-Been Hotel, he's just been disappeared. He's gone.
I think, is that the one that Noel talked about? He did the trainee stuff.
No, I don't think so.
Ah, it must have been someone else.
I wonder if AI could tell me. AI, dude.
Probably.
Black beatboxer AI, tell me. Black beatboxer who commissioned Has-Been Hotel fanfiction.
Yeah, no, actually, no, Noel did talk about him. It is ringing a bell now.
Have you watched any of the Mad at the Internets recently?
No, I gave up on it last year. What about you,
Verbalaze, it was
Mr.
Verbalaze.
Blaze?
Yeah, it was him. And no, I haven't watched many Mad at the Internets recently. I keep on wanting to, and then I'll turn in for like 20 minutes, and then I'll just like get upset and leave. It sucks.
It does.
He can't like hold back on the Hasbara propaganda because he's really ideologically sold into it now. And
He is.
Like he's bad at it. Like he can't wait until he has a potent point to like snipe. He has to constantly flamethrower it.
Yeah. And he keeps saying that people have Trump derangement syndrome and things like that. If anyone criticizes Trump, it's just ridiculous.
I had Trump derangement syndrome at a certain point in my life. In 2017, I legitimately had Trump derangement syndrome, so I know what that's like. And most people these days don't have it. Most people are like,
it's not a thing
Well,
anymore, is it? You can't
it's
have
not with
Sorry,
how Trump's been acting. Like he just doesn't give a shit
I mean,
about the country.
the way Trump derangement syndrome, the way I've always thought about it, is irrational hatred of Trump.
Yeah.
Like it kind of goes back to like if you remember the Stephen Colbert thing about the 2 scoops, where he like goes on a rant about Trump getting 2 scoops of ice cream, and it's like, well, why do you care?
I was watching
I
that
don't
shit
think-
when I had Trump derangement syndrome.
I don't think most people now actually have TDS. It's just that they have like legitimate like gripes,
Real
and
grievances.
the people that keep using that term are just like trying to invoke like a thought terminating cliche. They're trying to like, no, you need to get back on the plantation. Like you need to trust the plan because if you counter signal Trump, you're just as bad as the left.
Sounds about right. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to choose one of 2 camps, the left or right, which are both the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and both are going to lead to your doom.
Yep. It's a uniparty, and a lot of people have figured that out now. But what comes next, I fear, is a real physical battle.
Well, we need that though. Sadly, that's the only way to fix things.
Yeah, it's just scary for modern people because we have all these comforts that make us think that, oh, I'm losing all of this if I get hurt or I die. But in reality, like people have always thought, well, I'm gaining a society, I'm gaining a future for my children.
Yeah. The thing is, it's just if people don't fight, they're going to lose everything anyway. And I know people don't get that, and I know, yeah.
I think people need to change their horizon on what the fight actually is. The fight was never going to be elect like one guy as president and then everything's fixed. And I think that's kind of the problem and what people are running into now is people are kind of realizing Trump is limited in what he can actually accomplish. And I think Trump has realized it himself. And I've heard some people describe it basically like Trump tried to like do immigration, and the courts blocked him at every turn, and he fought the courts for a year and got some of the orders overturned, and then they put in a new order and they freeze it. Like even like his stupid thing recently about the ballroom, literally a federal judge just said, "Look, no, you can't build a ballroom." Like basically like gave a ruling that Trump is a steward of the White House only and cannot make changes to it.
Well, you know why that
So
happened? That happened right after he said he's building a bunker underneath that big project.
yeah.
Might be a little
Well, I
bit
mean,
more
the White House already
complex.
has a bunker underneath it, so I don't know why he needs a second one. But no, I think Trump's just running into the problem that he needed to fix a long time ago. Is the first domino of Trump fixing the country is he needed to fix the GOP, and he was unwilling to do that.
And he was actually like coming for Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush, like people who've done real damage in their life and real damage to the
Then
Republican Party.
he relented because Ted Cruz like changed his tone and became pro-Trump, so he relented on going after Cruz. And
Which projects weakness.
Lindsey Graham, despite backstabbing him, he's supporting him in his recent race for keeping his seat in the Senate. Like
Talk about projecting
Trump is,
weakness. Even Ben Garrison is drawing that guy as a fairy floating around with a bubble wand. Like even Trump's
Yeah.
most die-hard, hardcore fans are just like, this guy is a disgusting, evil pervert.
I mean, the way things were supposed to go, if you remember, like Occupy Democrats, and their plan was to basically try to replace the whole Democrat Party with progressives or whatever.
Justice Democrats,
They-
that was founded by Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kalinske. Yeah.
That's kind of what Trump needed to do to fix things. Is he needed to do that for the
New Tea
Republican
Party.
Party,
A new Tea Party, yeah.
and he had the political sway to do it if he actually wanted to. He could have. I mean, just one endorsement or like one condemnation from Trump is enough to sink a GOP election like a couple years ago. He could have reformed the entire GOP and reshaped in his image, and then he relented and chose not to.
Well, in a way he is,
And even-
because the new GOP is going to be a whole lot more anti-Semitic than the old one.
Eventually, it's still like a wind up to get there, but the Democrat Party is going to like end run them around there and get to that point first.
Well, they can never be racist. The Democratic Party can never be racist. That's
Even
their
like right
case.
now, Trump's like his case about birthright citizenship is resting on the vote of Amy Coney Barrett, who Trump took his Supreme Court nominations from Mitch McConnell. He didn't actually pick those people himself. He was recommended to pick them. So Amy Coney Barrett was always going to be like a bad candidate. I mean, we replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg with another woman who her court record seemed to like fall on the state is always right and the government's always correct, and individual people don't deserve like to win cases against the government. That's kind of like her raison d'etre of how she ruled as a judge. So like it's not surprising that she's been like kind of like one of Trump's like worst proponents in the Supreme Court, because anything Trump tries to do, she's going to fall on what the government's been doing for the last 50 years and not be like kind of like an originalist or like a constitutionalist on any issue. So Trump's kind of fighting an uphill battle, but some of it is from his own design because he didn't do the first steps he needed to actually like fix the problem.
Yeah, most of his
And I
hardcore
think
supporters are figuring that out.
most of my condemnation of Trump stems from the fact that he doesn't have follow through on anything. If you remember back, he promised us a wall in 2016, never finished it. He promised us reshoring manufacturing, he never finished that. He's promised us these tariffs, and then he like gave up on that. And even to the point like he relented on the tariffs for Japan because the new prime minister like gifted him a golf club set.
I do not like that woman at all. I really do not like that. She's gonna do terrible things. That woman is Takahashi. Takahachi's gonna do.
Well, she's going to be just like Giorgia Meloni in Italy. She sounded good on paper, and then when she actually got in office, like she like just flooded Italy with more migrants, just like the last prime minister of Italy.
She's gonna be worse. She's gonna make a bunch of plutonium bombs. Oh, it's gonna be bad, bro. It's gonna be bad.
So that's kind of like Trump's like core problem is he doesn't actually finish anything he starts, and then he tries to market and brand what he started and didn't like actually follow through with. So he just kind of like builds a bunch of Lego sets. He stops at like step 2 or 3, and then like he wants to brag about his cool Lego set he built.
That's the entire point. Okay, so if the Samson option actually really truly wanted to destroy the world, what it would have to do first, it would have to take over the United States and Russia. Well, it would first just to take over the United States' nuke supply, and then launch a bunch of Russia, launch a bunch of China. You know, if Trump is too inadequate and incompetent to actually ensure that every single line will come up to the point where the Samson option will run through the American nuclear supply, then it just won't happen. The Samson option just won't happen. Which is just like, that's a big thing. Like, I would have always fought tooth and nail to make sure that DeSantis did not become the president. Because as much feathers as he might seem to be good, he has a much more competent ideological devotion to Zionism and Israel.
And I think the fundamental thing a lot of politicians they haven't seemed to recognize is the American populace for years has always been voting for the person who promises to stop doing wars. Like if you go all the way back, like Bill Clinton had promised that, George Bush had promised that, Barack Obama had promised that. We are looking to make our politicians stop doing what they've been doing for like the last like 30, 40 years. And they always backstab us and betray us in that promise. And I think Trump was an opportunity, we thought, to get somebody who wasn't a politician. Well, he's not going to do what a politician only does, like lie to us. Like he's not a politician; he's a real estate guy. He's a TV guy. Like he's not going to do that to us, surely. And we've watched in the span of 10 years Trump transform into a politician before our eyes, and now we're living through the ultimate betrayal. Like anybody that supported Trump in 2016, you're kind of beside yourself. Like he's literally promised us for 10 years no new wars, and you're hearing people like, well, in this one clip back in 1992, he said, well, Iran can have a nuke. It was like, was there any way you could have like bartered that through like diplomacy? Why did it have to be started another war?
Actually,
you promised us.
It could have been done through diplomacy. We could have gotten a lot of their uranium just by making deals with them and lifting sanctions that would have been equivalent to the uranium that was. There was a fatwa on nuclear weapons from the old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. No nuclear weapons.
Well, they were part of the ICC. I think that's what it's called, the acronym.
Yeah, like the nuclear deal and all that. That doesn't matter as much as Ali Khamenei saying no nuclear weapons. I declare this immoral. This is anti-Islamic, and no Shia person was allowed to make a nuclear weapon.
I get that, but the point was is that nuclear deal allowed us to actually have our own people there monitoring what they were doing, so we could ensure with 100% certainty they weren't making a nuclear weapon. So that deal was actually like pretty like resolute in the way it was arranged, and then Trump tore it up in his first term.
Yep. When he killed Qasem Soleimani, it broke my heart because Qasem Soleimani was one of the greatest generals, one of the greatest warriors fighting ISIS. He was almost single-handedly responsible for the destruction of ISIS in the Middle East. And then Trump came in there and was like, I destroyed ISIS, and then killed him, and on his way back from a peace mission from Saudi Arabia, like a diplomacy mission. And this is what J.D. Vance just recently did. There was somebody that was negotiating for a ceasefire, was going to go to Islamabad, and then his location was given up, and they bombed his home, killed his wife, and now he's in serious condition. And, like, that's what our current system of backstabbing snakes does to the people who are willing to extend an olive branch and come to the peace talks. Specifically because he does believe in this apocalyptic Judaism where, you know, the world must be destroyed because of reasons, I suppose. Because
I've also heard
I suppose.
I've also heard some people say that their kind of personal theories. Well, Trump's focused on foreign things because he's been stymied so much in domestic policy that this is the only thing he can actually do with the presidency is he can bomb countries. And it's like, I mean, for one, that sounds kind of nonsensical. Yeah, that's the only thing the president can ever do is just create more wars.
He was good on foreign policy for a while. He actually had a really good foreign policy. which is to say, stay out of it. I have friends all over the world. I don't want more wars. That was good for a period of time.
Yeah, but now he's just kind of a joke. I mean, like, not that I think the Japanese leader's great. I don't know too much about her, but when he's making like Pearl Harbor jokes in front of her, and you see the look on her face, like how inappropriate it is for our president to like still be dragging up this history like so many years later.
I don't know. When that's
Like-
gone, we're gonna miss it more than we realize now, because I missed Trump's humor when he disappeared off the face of the planet during the Biden presidency.
I'm his humor is great, but like there's certain things is like maybe that's a line you shouldn't cross.
Yeah. You didn't tell us about Pearl Harbor. She's just like,
I don't know, like I could like kind of laugh along with like Donald Trump like making jokes about all things, but like when you're making jokes about like literally like vaporizing millions of people in a single second, like I don't find the humor in that.
well, yeah. If he
I
had
find
joked,
it kind of distasteful and kind of ugly.
well, if he had joked about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which I don't think he's ever actually done, yes, I would agree with you on that. But Pearl Harbor was the sneak attack on our Hawaiian naval base.
Yeah, but even like if you go back to the documents, like we kind of like had an inkling that was going to happen and maybe let it happen because we
Yeah,
were looking
you're right.
for a reason to enter the war.
Mm-hmm. And they told us that
So,
was
I
going to
mean-
happen.
And I think that's another thing. It's part of like what people desire, and I think some people get this wrong when they talk about the Epstein files. What the American people want is they just want our government to finally be honest with us. We know that there's more to what Epstein was doing, and we know that he likely had CIA, FBI, possibly Mossad connections. We just want that out in the open so we can finally like get accountability. And our government, like still to this day, will not release the last like batch of 10,000 JFK files, even though everybody involved in the JFK assassination is dead.
Well,
There's nobody to incriminate now, and our government still like won't tell us the truth on anything.
Well, the Epstein's coalition was above the government. It was above all the world's governments. Why? Because he worked for the Rothschilds. He was the Rothschilds' bag man. And the Rothschilds for the global bank, they are above all these world governments. And if they're not above you, they will collapse your economy, and then you will suffer from it. Just as like Latin America, Greece, Russia, Iran. But China is not amused. The 5,000-year-old kingdom is not amused.
No, that might be true. I just for like the layman, just the guy that does his 9 to 5 job, like they just want answers. They want to know what are you doing? Why are you hiding this stuff from us?
Yeah.
And I think that the kind of bread and circuses our government's been involved in for years is it's not entertaining anymore, and the bread is moldy and it's not good anymore. People are really getting
a higher
fed
rating than
up.
Mark Levin. There was a poll, and moldy bread got like 80%. Mark Levin got like 18%. So even that's more entertaining than what we got now.
I don't know. It's kind of like from like a ground level, and especially like a working class aspect. What kind of people think about what's going on right now is like none of us are actually happy. None of us are pleased with what Trump's been doing. This isn't what he campaigned on. This isn't what he promised us, and we're appreciative of like at least like closing the border and like doing some of the things, but like he is woefully under delivered on what he's promised us, and what he's given us in return is ultimately I fear going to be like so detrimental it's going to possibly like implode the American way of life to a certain extent.
If that hasn't already imploded with the destruction of the Rust Belt, you know?
It's already imploded, but it's America had enough kind of like fats, so to speak, that we were able to kind of coast for a while on the excesses of what we built during the Cold War and post World War II. So
yeah, but I'm
we've
glad
kind
we're
of
learning that one man is not going to solve it. That is a big problem in Judeo-Masonic ideology. The Messiah will be one man that comes back and saves everybody and makes everything right. That never has happened in history ever. Hegelian thought and history on horseback, and Napoleon. Napoleon himself would tell you, I was always impressed how the pen triumphed over the sword. Always. I was impressed when I saw that, because I didn't believe that. It's always a bunch of people working together, and the history has been moved along the wheels of book clubs for the last 2,000 years, 4,000 years. History has moved along the wheels of book clubs, you know, going from scrolls to tomes to handbooks. You know, that's the actual turning of history. The pen is mightier than the sword, and we all have to get together and start telling the truth. Radical truth tellers, radical libertarians, Tea Party and Justice Democrat, like both together, working together as Americans to make things better. That's the only way. That's the only way out is through.
But I think, like I kind of said in our previous stream that we did, people really need to focus on local stuff because that's more in your realm of control, and it'll give you more of a grounding if you care more about who your local sheriff is, who your county commissioner is. People need to reorient and focus more on that. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, the president role is important, but I kind of what we've seen, especially in the era of Trump, is people hyper focus during the presidential election and they like go to sleep for the rest of the presidential camp or presidential like term. So, and even a lot of Trump's own voters do this. They show up to vote for Trump and then they never show up for midterms or for like a nomination votes. They don't show up for local elections. They only show up to vote for Trump. To the extent that some of them don't even fill out the rest of the ballot, they only like check mark Trump and then just like put the ballot in the machine.
And all that is by design. I had absolutely no idea who Randy Fine was, where he lived, which is outside of our county, and who, like, that he was on the ballot. I didn't vote when Randy Fine became my congressperson. And that's by design, I feel, because I'm very, very politically active and orientated and knowledgeable, and yet I never heard about him. Yet he was the guy with the R next to his name. So all the sleepwalking zombies that wandered into the polling location, they just voted for him because he had an R next to his name. And now they're going to vote for him if they still support the delusional denial cult of MAGA, or that they are one of these Israelis that came in who have dual citizenship, even though that should be treason and illegal and all that stuff. For second wonder, do you have anything to say? I know you just muted your mic, but you were making sound before. You got anything to note? I feel like he's off doing something. Well, let's start wrapping it up here. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Nope. So everybody just hold on the best you can. I know things are turbulent. I know times are tough, but try to weather the storm and maintain your focus on what matters.
Yeah.
Your family matters first above anything else. Your local community matters next. Your county, town, city matters after that. And of course, your friends, they're pretty much like right there after family, but keep your priorities in order.
Order of operations. Can't do anything without order of operations. You can have all the energy in the world and it can be wasted in the first 20% of the race if you don't have order of operations.
And if Trump is pissing you off or you're unhappy about how things are turning, see if that helps a little bit.
Ow! Damn it! You deafened me, bro. I don't know what you did. Okay, let me finish this thought. If Trump is pissing you off, just focus on what you do have control over, and then focus on all the wonderful gifts that you have in your life and all the graces that God has given you, and keep it close to the chest and keep it down to earth.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, since Forsaken Wanderer has gone off to attend to his Easter duties, I will assume
He has
that
forsaken us.
he has wandered off. I will just say that he loves everybody and hopes that Tartaria will rise again. Alright, y'all. Y'all have a good one.